Good evening, everybody. It's hard to believe that it's Wednesday already. Yesterday was Canada Day. Happy Canada Day to the Canadians out there. And if you're not Canadian, I feel bad for you. All right. I need a minute here to get set up, and then we will be enjoying what might be the end of the Ace Attorney trilogy. So I'll try and manage expectations a little bit here. I am very much enjoying this series. I think it's very charming. It's different from what I was originally expecting. So I definitely thought the game was a little more serious, and so I was weirded out a bit by, or sorry, when I say serious, like I need to be careful on a game. Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney is probably not the sort of thing that you should expect to be The Last of Us or something like that. But I definitely thought it was going to try and embrace sort of the law a little bit more than it did. So that was a bit of a stumble for me originally, simply because the absurdity of some of these legal rules, right? That, I guess it feels like the defense kind of needs to prove that they are innocent in some cases. So no presumption of innocence, and you have to do it within 3 days. You can't let the the trial go on too long. And what constitutes an objection and so on and so forth. I am not going to even pretend to be any kind of legal expert. There's a couple things where I'm like, this is insane. This is wrong. What are you doing? But again, as soon as I'm able to embrace the madness, it becomes a tremendously enjoyable experience. And I mean, the apotheosis of the silliness is probably where you're interrogating a parrot in what I thought was the last episode. So all of this is just great. Like this is charming. This is a lot of fun, and the characters are memorable. The puns are fast and furious. So I can definitely see myself doing more entries in the trilogy. However, I am very much at the point where, even though I've started some other games, so for instance, I've done stuff like Uplink, which incidentally, I don't think we'll get finished early. I may not even finish the game, assuming that the 5th episode is the last one. I may not even finish it tonight. I'll do my best, obviously. But I think sorry, what was I going to say? My intention here is definitely to start finishing off some of the games that I've started. Some of these might even be games that I've started and people don't remember. And I'll try and find a balance. Like, I do also want to try and do a little bit of fan service every once in a while. There's definitely some games that people really want to see or liked watching and would like to see return. But the thing I'm hoping to try and do is actually just sort of close off some of the old obligations, or at least things that I sort of feel like I should wrap up. And that'll mean that I think it's fair to say I'll be taking a break from Ace Attorney. I don't 100% know. I don't exactly have a plan for coming back, other than I very much intend to, because it's just been nice to have people stop by. And it's one of these ones where I've noticed, when I see people like Diluted Daybreak, or, even people who don't necessarily stop by the stream all that often, the fact that it sort of brought them back, is a nice indicator that this is the sort of thing that people are enjoying, they want to see more of. And I would certainly not want people to think that I feel like, people are keeping their view as some sort of ultimatum or a bargaining chip. But I do I think I should recognize when people are giving a signal about what they're interested in, what they're not. I certainly prefer it to, somebody coming in, oh, why are you watching this idiot? So-and-so is going off and doing this sort of thing. That doesn't really happen a whole lot around here, but it's you know, I where I can, I want to try and read the signals that I've been given, at least as much as I can. Obviously, if I knew how to do the whole audience thing, I'm sure I would be making considerably more money at this than I am. Anyways, let us continue Rise from the Ashes, Day 1 investigation. Somehow, I knew. Yesterday was a day of destiny. I knew something was going to happen. Just like I know that the daily special on Friday every week is salmon. Destiny? Was yesterday's special for some reason? You're a defense attorney, right? You should know then. You should know the foul misdeeds of the evil ones who haunt this den of iniquity. Evil ones? Prosecutors. They have no qualms about all the blackening the names of innocents. And yesterday they paid homage to the most evil one of all. They gave an award for King of Prosecutors. What a farce. So she's saying there was some sort of prosecutors convention yesterday. I was almost compelled to lace their lunches with something foul. Do you have a personal grievance against prosecutors or something? Or is there some kind of scientific evidence of this evil? Young miss, mock me at your own risk. You'll soon find out why they call me the cough-up queen. Ew. Most heinous of all the evil ones, the one they awarded yesterday. It was in his car that they found the body. Proof that he devours the evilest lunches of all. Really? Really what? I'm totally confused. One thing's clear, this lunch lady has a thing against prosecutors. So what exactly was it that you witnessed, Miss Starr? It was a fascinating spectacle, to be sure. I now feel I know what they say when they talk about a woman's wrath. To see Lana Skye wield that knife so... Her knife flashed in anger, bringing him to a sad end. It was truly a sight to see. You mean you saw the very moment of the crime? The sound of his silvery ties to this world being cruelly cut still rings in my ears. And the rhythmic beat of Lana Skye's knife. Wait a second, you know Lana Skye? Huh, of course. It's quite a feat becoming chief prosecutor. How many lunchboxes of sin did she pack to make that journey, I wonder? She always travels light. Now, why would this pretty lunch lady know the chief prosecutor's name? Could we ask you a bit about yourself, Miss Starr? I come here every day to sell lunches. I import only the freshest and best from the Far East. For some reason, the box lunches are a hit here. Why not make the lunches here rather than import them? Did you say something? No. Only true connoisseurs can understand. The kind that you can only tell... Sorry. The kind you can only tell someone who has tried General Tso's Trilobite lunch set. Never mind. You win. I don't even want to appreciate part of a Trilobite's flavor. Anyway, I come here every day to sell lunches. My boyfriend works in the security room here at the prosecutor's office. Your boyfriend? See the security room over there? The glass-walled booth? I sell my lunches, and since I'm here anyway, I drop in to see him. Since you're here anyway, I guess selling lunches is more important than romance. So to scientifically analyze the data available so far, you, Miss Starr, are a lunch vendor with an ulterior motive for coming here. Useful analysis. Not. Did you have a bad experience with the prosecutor, Miss Starr? I sense some hostility. Hostility? Ha, perhaps. Prosecutors are all alike, and the bigger they get, the worse they smell. Kind of like 10-day-old clams in the chowder. I wonder if Miss Starr was involved in some sort of legal trouble in the past. That'd be a sure cause of food poisoning, scientifically speaking, of course. I mean, now that you're talking, cough-up queen. I thought she was just a lunch vendor, but now I'm not so sure. Yeah, so I was gonna say usually I should probably just learn at this point that the game tends to make the implicit hints a little more explicit. But the fact that she was indicating some distaste with prosecutors from the start, I wasn't really that subtle in the first place, but raises a question about the her status as the witness. I think it's also the fact that we're defending the chief prosecutor, so presumably the one that she'll dislike the most, but I don't have much to go on. Other than I'm just assuming that the game will not make me defend the indefensible. So. Alright, to the High Prosecutor's Office. Steel Samurai spotted. February 22nd, High Prosecutor's Office, room 1202. This is the kind of room that just screams, I can do the job. Quite a change from your office, really. Thanks. Look, there's a trophy or something here. A trophy? What, that shield? Takes real nerve to display stuff like this. Whoever's office this is, they must be a real stuck-up jerk. Phoenix Wright. You never tire of prying into other people's business, do you? That voice. Long time no see, Edgeworth. Huh? Ah! Mr. Edgeworth! You know him from somewhere? Of course! I'm his biggest fan! My sister introduced us once and... Right. Her sister is the chief prosecutor, after all. Well, what brings you here? I was wondering if the costume here was specific to Edgeworth, or if this was about the this is the uniform for prosecutors. I guess Von Karma didn't have one. Anyways. I'll warn you, I've been known to be a real stuck-up jerk. No, did I? No. It was just Mr. Wright here. Hey, don't blame me. We're just here to investigate a murder case. Murder? A body was found in this nasty bright red sports car in the parking lot. That would be my car. What of it? What? Your car? I'll say one thing. She certainly can scream. Wow, this jacket is even lacier than his usual ones. It must be his lucky trial jacket. Lucky jacket, right. Never seen him wear it. I'm sure there's a story behind why it's in a frame. Maybe I'll be naughty and take a picture. I'm getting way too excited about this. My, what an amazing bouquet. Just right for Mr. Edgeworth. No kidding. Hey, there's a card on it. Back from the dead. Wendy. Wendy. I've heard that name somewhere before. And beside it, a giant steel samurai. Wow, I want one. Huh? There's something written on the bottom of his foot. Between a rock and a hard place. Wendy. Wendy? Is she Mr. Edgeworth's fiancée? I don't think so. Whoa! What a view. Must be nice to have an office on the 12th floor. I guess you'd feel important. Incidentally, were you to jump out this window, the time until impact with the ground would be... Got it! Approximately 3.23 seconds. It's handy to know. Ooh, cute! What a pretty tea set. I go more for the instant tea bags myself. Amazing! The drawer below is filled with packets of tea leaves. They're all sorted by place of origin and flavor. Look at this royal blend. What an exquisitely splendid concoction. There's such a thing as taking a hobby too far. Have a coworker with a tea collection like that. No comment. A work desk. It's quite tidy, as one might expect. What a nice desk. Easy to use and easy on the eyes. It's polished so well I can see my own reflection. Strange. Why did I just picture Detective Gumshoe? Maybe I'll take that name plaque as a souvenir. Don't. He'll sue you. Whoa! These are all case files? They're stacked up to the ceiling. There's even a ladder. Odd. I thought Edgeworth wasn't good with heights. He must have someone get them for him. Strange. Why did I just picture Detective Gumshoe? He must study these case reports so closely. He's so cool. You would say that if you saw him sweating bullets up on that ladder. Hey, a chessboard. I'm not too up on my chess, but it looks like blue's in a bit of a tight spot. Red knights have surrounded the blue pawn. Huh? Those horses are mounted knights. Their swords have really sharp edges. And check out that poor pawn. His head is kind of spiky. Kind of reminds me of you. Mr. Edgeworth must be an avid chess player. What's wrong, Mr. Wright? Edges surrounding a pawn with spiky hair. Nah, it's nothing. I've been wondering, what the heck is this? It has a big K on it. Prosecutors. Huh? What was that? It's the King of Prosecutors trophy. King of Prosecutors? It's a great honor. They send that shield to the best prosecutor each year. What? So that K, that's... K stands for king? Yeah, got a problem with that? I didn't design the thing. King of Prosecutors. Kind of like Employee of the Month, only better. Given to Edgeworth, King of Prosecutors at the PD on the day of the murder. So that's the King of Prosecutors shield, huh? Well done, Edgeworth. You must be proud to be King of Prosecutors. Congratulations, King of Prosecutors. Please stop saying that. Still doesn't explain one thing. Why is the tip of this shield broken off? Mr. Edgeworth has such a comfy sofa. Sofas like this make me want to curl up and take a nap. I bet he pores over his case files here until the wee hours of the morning. Then he takes off his jacket, rolls up his sleeves, and then goes to sleep using his arms as a pillow. I don't believe it. She's actually daydreaming about Edgeworth working. I bet in the morning he has sofa hair and little creases in his cheek from the seams. He's so cool. Sofa hair is cool? So the body was found in your car. Go ahead, say it right. You think I did it, don't you? After you went through all the trouble to help me last year, no less. No, we don't think you did it. I mean, it was my sister who stabbed him. Wait, no, she didn't do that. I mean, wait. So you're the chief prosecutor's little sister, then? Yes, sir, Emma Skye. It's nice to meet you again. Now that didn't sound forced at all. Ah, now I remember. You've really grown. I'll admit, it was a surprise for me, too. To think that my own car would become the scene of a murder. More surprising still, I'm being forced to prove my superior's guilt. I can understand. Wait, what did you say? Lana Skye is the chief prosecutor, the top prosecutor in the district. She can't prosecute herself, so I'll be the prosecutor at the trial tomorrow. You? Mr. Edgeworth? To be honest, it's a bit of a miracle I'm still here at all. What do you mean? Rumors. You've heard the rumors about me, haven't you? Miles Edgeworth. It's hard to remember a time when there weren't rumors about the guy. forging evidence, arranging false testimony, illegal searches, you name it. Thanks to you, my innocence was established in the trial at the end of last year. However, there are some who say I'm the one responsible for the current incident. What? That's crazy. Some people need very little excuse to think ill of others. It's a fact of life, impossible to stop. But some of them even go so far as to present me with toys like this. They think it's funny. Toys? That bronze shield? There's got to be a story behind that one. Chief Prosecutor Sky? Yes, we first worked together on a case 2 years ago. It was my first big case. That's right, I remember. 2 years ago. I wasn't even a lawyer yet. Since then, I always felt that she was looking... Excuse me. Since then, I always felt that she was looking out for me. It appears I was mistaken. Mistaken? Why? I mean, I know she's not the warmest person, but I'm sure she felt some responsibility for you. Then why? Why did she stab someone in the trunk of my car? Not only that, she stabbed him with my knife. What? Mr. Edgeworth, your knife was the murder weapon? To be specific, it was the knife I keep in the toolbox in the trunk of my car. Edgeworth's knife added to the court record. The murder weapon, usually in Edgeworth's toolbox, traces of victim's blood, no prints. Edgeworth? What? Are you sure you didn't do it? Come on, can't he take a joke? You have a strange sense of humor, Mr. Wright. How's it going, Underwater Monk? I can't remember. I think you've been here a couple times before for Ace Attorney, but this is my first time through the series. I am definitely enjoying it. Yeah, no kidding. I'm very lucky that I've got an extremely air-conditioned building that I work in, but I tend to walk home, so these things cancel each other out. All right. I think the tricky part here is that we've gotten some more information in terms of the different people we've talked to. Could you take a look at this? You. Yes? You said you wanted some hot tea, right? No, but thanks. She didn't even look at me. You must have to brew the leaves a long time to get the rich flavor like this. We pre-infuse the leaves with steam before brewing. I knew it, so that's the secret to their aroma. Exquisite. The only thing I'm smelling here is wasted time. Could you take a look at this? You! Yes? You said you wanted some hot tea. Okay, same. I'm gonna try Goodman's ID. I should have actually showed him the ID to Edgeworth as well. Oh, lunch lady vendors only accept cash, no cards. Especially not a card belonging to someone else. No, this isn't a credit card. It's an ID card. It belongs to a detective. And you're showing this to me then, the lunch lady. Why? It's like showing a fine honeyed ham to a detective. Why do I always feel like I'm being mocked? Say, Edgeworth, I was wondering about this. Mr. Wright? Huh? What? Are you sure you should be showing that to Mr. Edgeworth? Oh, he'll take it for sure, won't he? Wish I could be on the same side as Mr. Edgeworth. But then my sister would be found guilty. If she sighs any deeper, I'm gonna start getting depressed. Okay. Oh, that's right. We've got the investigation. All right. A name and ID number are written here. Sergeant Bruce Goodman, ID 5842189. I wonder why they only use numbers for IDs. What else would they use? Letters, silly. They're the reason we have a written language in the first place. True. Sergeant Bruce Goodman. Yabba dab. See? Wouldn't that be better? Yabba dab? Well, it does have a certain ring to it. Exactly my point, tee. Doesn't take much to amuse her. Whee! Here, see this? Ah, I noticed that defense attorneys have a tendency to want to show people things. What is this, a behavioral study of lawyers? I completely forgot about the investigate, which is probably why I'm feeling a little lost. Hey, check it out. There's a metal plate here. Looks like the names of all the previous recipients are engraved on it. Wow, one guy's listed a bunch of times. Von Karma. I guess he must be a foreigner? Yeah, that's probably it. Well, wherever he's from, he must have been an amazing prosecutor. I'd like to meet this Mr. Von Karma sometime. When she says it, his name does have a kind of ring to it. Index Gnome, good to see you. How you doing? Looks kind of like a chess piece almost. This must be the victim's blood, right? Either that or Edgeworth cut himself peeling an apple. What's Edgeworth doing with a knife like this anyway? Hey, maybe he spends his weekends roughing it in the wild. Edgeworth? In the wild? I think my fruit peeling theory is more likely. Are you kidding? I always pictured him as an outdoorsman. Now there's a scary thought. Yeah, I'm always 50-50 on saying to people, like, it's been a while, because I never want people to feel like I'm taking an attendance or anything like that. And I also know, like, for such a long time I was doing Book of Hours, so the thing is that, like, I really like the series, and I don't think I should say I feel like I owe Weather Factory a lot, but definitely it's one where I feel quite attached to the developers, and I do like the people that it's attracted to the channel, so, you know, for me it's a special game, but it doesn't mean that's going to be how everyone feels about it. And then, of course, if the other game is Cyberpunk, which is equally divisive, if maybe for different reasons, it can kind of make this drought. Like, I know there's a couple people who, not to dwell on the fact, but like back when I did more Paradox stuff, there were people who were really, really dedicated fans of the channel. And obviously the Paradox thing wasn't my choice, right? There, you know, no need to relitigate it, but like, you know, it wasn't my lack of interest that stopped me doing, you know, doing those games, let's say. So, you know, I'm totally understanding of people who sign up for one thing and then, you know, the new thing isn't their cup of tea. But it does always make it a little awkward to say, hey, it's been a while, because I never want people to feel like I'm keeping track. But I'm always happy to see a familiar face. So as long as it's not taken as being being judgmental. Happy to see you. Long time no see. And I hope you've been well. I have no idea if you're experiencing comparable temperatures to where I am right now. It is still very hot. Alright, that didn't really produce a whole lot, although I guess I never examined my badge. Oh, I should go where you are. So this is what the back of the badge looks like. I always thought it had a safety pin. Each badge has a number carved into it. That way you can tell which attorney it belongs to. You mean you couldn't lend your badge to anyone? No, I'd be found out right away. Well, that's no fun. Smile for the camera. And I have a feeling that we'll talk about the dedication of the guard here. This guard monitors the visitor's room. He's frozen in fear of the frigid Miss Lana. I'm feeling a bit chilly myself. The entire Ottawa cohort is going to be taking a trip to Europe. I can't see the examine getting us any further, but oh, then I know we can't go off to the side. So yeah, the last option we have is the High Prosecutor's Office. So I can't present him with Goodman's ID. It's against my policy to discuss evidence with the defense, especially with you. He doesn't like you that much, does he, Mr. Wright? Ah, with Edgeworth, it's never personal. It's all about winning tomorrow. Norway's a lovely place. I have to say, the only problem I got is all the Norwegians here. It was funny. I had a friend in university. She was from France. I definitely was in Paris, but she said something very similar. It's like, you know, she likes Paris except all the Parisians. So basically, this says you were the best of the best last year, huh? You can take that foolish grin elsewhere, right? I lost a day of work to receive that travesty. Huh? Why's that? I had to go to the police department to receive that broken shield. Police department? Yes, right next to the police station downtown. You've been there, haven't you? Where Detective Gumshoe works? Yeah. I was wondering something about your shield. Why is it broken? It doesn't matter. I've got more important things to worry about. Oh, right. He doesn't seem too concerned about his award, for better or worse. Yesterday was a very busy day for the prosecutor's office. Maybe we should ask him more about yesterday. Could you tell me more about yesterday, the day of the murder? Yesterday was the annual cleaning day of at the prosecutor's office. Cleaning day? Working with the police department, we sort and file all evidence for solved cases. We call it evidence transferal. Wiping your hands of old cases, in other words. Oh, and another thing. A ceremony was held at the police department. There's an annual review and awards for outstanding police officers and prosecutors. And that's when you got the shield. I was at the police department yesterday afternoon. I got back here at 5:12. That's very precise. People like myself and Mr. Edgeworth pride ourselves on our precision, Mr. Wright. No, I place little faith in my memory. The only thing I trust is solid evidence. Edgeworth's parking stub added to the court record. Record of parking in the prosecutor's office lot, entered lot at 5:12 p.m. This is the parking stub from the underground lot. Murder took place around 5:15. So the murder happened right after you got back. What, right? I'd appreciate it if you direct that suspicious glare elsewhere. Excuse me, but is Mr. Edgeworth, anywhere on the premises? I'm Edgeworth. What is it? I'm here, sir, at the request of the chief, sir. I've got your report, sir. Report? What? Did you find new evidence in the case against Chief Prosecutor Skye? I don't like the way this conversation is going at all. Skye, sir? No, sir. No name of that kind, sir. Not in this report, sir. I think I just heard Edgeworth's lid blow. Mr. Edgeworth's lid isn't on very tight, is it? I made a clear request to the police department, did I not? I need to focus on the trial tomorrow, so don't bring me anything unrelated. Sir, sir! I'm just following orders, sir. They told me to bring this to you. I wasn't aware of the particulars of your arrangement with us, sir. Give me your name. Yes, sir. Meekins, sir. Officer Meekins. Right. Officer Meekins, take your report and leave. And good luck with that raise next month. But, sir, I didn't know. Poor guy. Looks like he was absent on the day they gave out brains and good luck. Right. Yes, sir. Caught me off guard. As you can see, I'm busy. Seek thee not for counsel in any game in sooth, but for the sport of it, to draw forth thy mirthful rants and chant. As you can see, I'm busy. You may leave now. Let's do what he says, Mr. Wright. The victim was a detective from the same department as the patrolman just now. Go down to the police department. You can ask more there. Thanks. Seems to have finally calmed down at least. February 22nd, Police Department entrance. They got the mascot. Whew, we're finally here. Why would they put the police department so far away from the prosecutor's office? It's me. That took almost 30 minutes by taxi, and traffic wasn't even that bad. Police department, huh? I've only been to criminal affairs next door. Hmm? Hold on, what's that? Disturbing. Why does it undulate like that? Oh wait, I know. This is the Blue Badger. They're trying to make him the police mascot. Wow, Mr. Wright, you sure know a lot about the police. Still, he does seem familiar somehow. Get the Blue Badger. Who's that next to him? Someone appears to be dancing with the Blue Badger. Uh-oh, he noticed me. Sure is running over here fast. Hey, pal! What are you doing here? That's my line, Detective Gumshoe. Specifically, why were you dancing over there? What? Well, at least he doesn't seem to be busy. This is our chance to get information. Hey, I'll have you know I'm a very busy man, pal. I'll give you one word of advice, pal. You'd better not agree to defend the suspect in this case. Why not? Huh? Well, it's just that the chief prosecutor has confessed to the crime. She says she summoned the detective to the prosecutor's office and she killed him. But what if she's not telling the truth? Yes, well, no! Come on, pal. There's plenty of evidence against her. But what if the evidence was faked? Hey, pal. Can I speak to you for a second? No, me? Why is this little girl so peeved at me? She's a relative of the suspect. She's Lana Skye's sister. Whoa! The chief prosecutor's little sister? Just please investigate this case carefully, okay? Scientifically. Yes, sir. Oh, by the way, you might want to keep your voices down. You don't want to be overheard using words like faked. Huh? It's just, It's a sensitive issue with us these days. Endixnome, I have to ask, so this is my first time playing the Ace Attorney series, but if you're not familiar with it, this game goes very far with the names. We had one witness that we had to deal with was Old Bag. What are some of the other ones that we've... I'm drawing a blank on some of the... Old Bag was definitely one that was very memorable, both as a character and I'd never seen it before. I'm not normally one for visual novels. It's not that I dislike them. It's just it doesn't sort of naturally jump out to me as something that I would normally want. Like, this is going to sound unfairly dismissive, and I really don't want to sound this hard on visual novels, but some games are a little... Like, I like spectacle a lot, and I like movies, but there are some cases where I'll play a game and there's like a movie and it doesn't stop, and I'm sort of like, why do I get the feeling that these game developers wish they worked in Hollywood rather than games? So like, I remember when I first played Cyberpunk, one of the things that drove me a little crazy was after the tutorial mission, or not the tutorial, but like the prologue, depending on the backstory you went with, there's this whole cinematic of you doing all of these runs with Jackie, and I'm just thinking to myself, I was like, boy, it sure would be fun if I could do some of this stuff. Like, why am I not actually going around and having these adventures? And it's just it doesn't have to be an absolute rule that I apply to games, but it's just one of these things where, you know, if I'm going to play a game, I want to be the one playing it as much as I can. So, you know, this is why, for better or worse, you know, I rather like strategy games, because very rarely are strategy games going to put themselves on hold to make you, to play the game for you. I will say I'm actually going through the original StarCraft now, and there's some fun sort of plot bits where the game actually does just that. It sort of pauses the game and then it delivers some dialogue. So, like I said, it's not an adamantine rule or anything like that. But in general, I kind of like the idea of games playing to their strengths and giving me some sort of interactive experience. And of course, having a cinematic, and too many cinematics in my view, will dilute that. And so, you know, I don't necessarily think games are really going to hit the same highs as films in the sense of the cinematics that they do, right? So, you know, there's some really cool stuff that I see in Assassin's Creed, and, you know, there's lots of very memorable moments from games that I like. I mean, the opening of Battlefield 1 would be a great example of that. Both the actual sequence, but also the little coda that they put to it in terms of the cinematic. But, you know, it's not going to be Winterlight or, you know, or it's not going to be, I mean, Gladiator, you know, like, cinema has 100 years of technique working for it, and it's playing on its home turf, so I don't think it's right to expect games to try and match that. But that's why I also tend to prefer things that play to a game's strength, which tends to be, I like when others do things for you, like your work. So auto battlers for you next. But anyways, so the drawback with some visual novels for me is that they do sometimes, or have felt in some cases, to be, I'm kind of reading a book here, but it's not quite the same as reading a book. There are some things that are interrupting the book, and then there's some pictures associated with it. And it doesn't necessarily all quite come together in a way that makes me like happy that I played the visual novel. Now again, it's kind of like, it's another variation on Sturgeon's Law here, right? You know, was it like 90% of science fiction is crap, but that makes it about the same as anything of which 90% is crap. So I wouldn't want to criticize the visual novel by its worst examples. But it's tough for me to see that. Like, I can see why they appeal to people, and I can see why they may not work for me in the same way. And so I was a little choosy about it, but somebody did gift this. And again, I really enjoyed it. And I had a few instances where I sort of talked a little bit about how people have done crime stories in the past. So, Columbo versus Law and Order, or something like Sherlock Holmes and the idea of the master detective as opposed to some of the others. One we didn't really talk about would be the idea of the thriller, which to a certain extent is another version of the crime story. It's just, it happens to be a little bit more closer to the horror side of things. So it doesn't fully go into horror because you don't necessarily have this sort of supernatural antagonist that's going to make you suffer a fate worse than death. But you have something explicitly or implicitly like a detective, and something explicitly or implicitly like a killer or criminal. The criminal is going to be ahead of the detective throughout it until they finally meet. But beyond the fact that, again, there are definitely 90% is crap 100% of the time. But yeah, when you compare that, I mean, so first of all, I think crime is just generally a very versatile genre. Arguably, there are there's a lot of filmmakers who seem to get their start in the crime genre, and arguably there are some who never leave it. But some of the fun of it is just all the different ways that you can sort of take that template and run in different directions. So I don't know if there were examples before, but when when I talked about Columbo, at least so far as I can tell, the thing that people thought was the big innovation of it was, as opposed to the Sherlock Holmes or Agatha Christie stories where there's the big reveal, and as the reader, you're getting some of that enjoyment of finding out how, not just who the criminal was, but maybe even how the crime was done. In the case of Columbo, there's no mystery in terms of who did it, and instead it's more about how does this detective unravel what seems to be the perfect crime. So, and then this game plays around with it a little bit, because there was a case where we saw Edgeworth, that prosecutor we were talking with, holding a weapon, and he seemed basically to confess effectively until we, dug into the details. Yeah, I think that's the big one for me, Index Gnome, is that I've enjoyed this because it's clearly not just reading a book. It's like, it's not, in this case, it's basically not book minus. In this case, it's charming in its own way. I'm not going to try and hold this up as like some kind of high art or something like that. But yeah, so actually, Index Gnome, in this case, this is actually why I really like Ace Attorney, because you've got, well, you already saw this, right? You've got the character Gumshoe running around, and you've got Larry Butts was one of the other characters. And there was a point where, last stream, not only did we interrogate a parrot, but like one of the plot twists on it was the prosecutor was at a scene of a crime, and one of the ways we established that was there was a bullet in him. So as one might naturally imagine, the prosecutor just takes the metal detector that he has sitting behind the podium and says, well, I happen to have a metal detector right here. And, you wand him down and see the thing. So it's like, it very clearly does not take itself seriously. Or at the very least, like it wants to tell a story, right? It's gonna spin a good yarn. And it'll try and hit the various emotional beats, but it doesn't, a little, I guess, in the style of the Monkey Islands by comparison, right? Like, the sword fights are not sword fights. It's, you know, you fight like a dairy farmer. It's about the lines. So it's one of the ways that Ace Attorney sort of won me over. I'm also realizing that this is a game that sort of came out around the DS era, and there's something just very charming about DS games because of just all the potential that having these new inputs seem to put together. Again, we kind of take this stuff for granted now because we all have these little, you know, black rectangles in our pockets that seemingly do everything. But there's definitely something quite charming about DS games. I've actually been playing Professor Layton in my spare time, so anyways, I've definitely enjoyed it, and I need to confess I have not read nearly as much Terry Pratchett as I should and would like to, but I do have one sitting on my shelf waiting to be read. And if you'll forgive me, I know I've been ranting a bit, so I'm gonna sip some tea so I can recover, and then we will ask more about the investigation. All right. So, what are you doing here, Detective Gumshoe? Me? Nothing really. I don't know. It's good. I mean, I'm assuming at this point, this game's got to be like 20 years old. We checked this before, but let me see. Let me see when this thing came out. Actually, let's, we'll do because I'm already on a digression, let us see what Wikipedia has to say about this. Ace Attorney. 2001! Game's almost 25 years old. Ace Attorney is a visual novel franchise developed by Capcom, with storytelling fashioned after legal dramas. The first entry in the series, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, was released in 2001. Since then, 5 further main series games, as well as various spin-offs, prequels, and high-definition remasters for newer game consoles have been released. Additionally, the series has been adapted in the form of a live-action film and an anime. I had no idea there was a live-action film. That is ridiculous. It is the base for manga series, drama CDs, musicals, and stage plays. The player takes the role of various defense attorneys, including Phoenix Wright, his mentor Mia Fey, as well as his understudies Apollo Justice and Athena Sykes, who investigate cases and defend their clients in court. They find the truth by cross-examining witnesses and finding inconsistencies between the testimonies and the evidence they have collected. The cases last a maximum of 3 days. The judge determines the outcome based on the evidence presented by the defense attorney and the prosecutor. While the original Japanese versions of the games are set in Japan, the series localizations, are set in the United States, primarily Los Angeles, though retaining Japanese cultural elements. The spin-off series, Ace Attorney Investigations, the player takes the role of the prosecutor Miles Edgeworth, and in the prequel series, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, they play Phoenix ancestor Ryonosuke Naruhodo. The series was created by the writer and director Shu Takumi. He wanted the series to end after the 3rd game, but continued with Takashi Yamazaki taking over as writer and director, starting with Ace Attorney Investigations, Miles Edgeworth. Takumi has since returned to write and direct some spin-off titles. The series has been well received, with reviewers liking the characters, stories, and finding of contradictions. It has also performed well commercially, with Capcom regarding it as one of their strongest intellectual properties. The series has been credited with helping popularize visual novels in the Western world. As of December 31st, 2024, the game series has sold 13 million copies worldwide. So, I did want to see what the... I kind of wanted to know the origins of this. So I'll read the description up here, and then I will read the development. Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney is a visual novel adventure game developed and published by Capcom. It was released in 2001 for the Game Boy Advance in Japan and has been ported to multiple platforms. Okay, so I clearly have no idea when the DS came out. It was released in 2001 for the Game Boy Advance in Japan and has been ported to multiple platforms. In the 2005 Nintendo DS version, titled Gyukaden Saiban Yomigaru Gyukuten? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce any of this. In Japan, introduced an English language option and was the first time the game was released in North America and Europe. It is the first entry in the Ace Attorney series. Several sequels and spin-offs were produced, while the game has seen further ports and remasters for computers, game consoles, and mobile devices. Okay, I'm trying to skip over the description of the game because we can play that, but I want to know more about its origins. A team of 7 developed the game over the course of 10 months, written and directed by Shu Takumi. It was originally planned as a Game Boy Color game about a private investigator. The game was designed to be simple. Takumi wanted it easy enough that even a mother could play. While the original version of the game takes place in Japan, the localization is set in the United States. This became an issue when localizing later games where the Japanese setting was more obvious. Well received. Cited as one of the greatest games ever made. Okay. A 7-person team developed Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney over the course of 10 months. It was directed by Shu Takumi and produced by Atsushi Inaba, with music by Masakazu Sugimori. Kamiko Tsukane designed the characters, with art by Tetsuro Iwamoto. In 2000, after Takumi had finished work on Dino Crisis 2, his boss, Shinji Mikami, gave him 6 months to create any type of game he wanted. Takumi originally joined Capcom wanting to make mystery and adventure games and felt this was his big chance to make his mark as a creator. Takumi said that he initially received criticism for Ace Attorney's concept for its relation to law and a perceived requirement of legal knowledge. He said the main point of Ace Attorney was the fun from solving puzzles and calling witnesses out in their lies and evidence. That, I think, by the way, this is one of the things that really impresses me about game designers, right? Because, I mean, this might be after the fact, but the one thing everyone knows about this game series, you know, you could never have played it. You could never have actually seen anything from the game itself, but everyone knows the objection moment. Like, that is, you know, that certainly transcends any you know, knowledge of the game or understanding of the genre. So again, this may be after the fact, but I have a feeling that this was something that was very clearly identified in the course of making the game, and they sort of pushed towards. At first, the game was planned to be released for the Game Boy Color, but after the development team saw the Game Boy Advance's system screen and footage of Mega Man Battle Network, Takumi felt it would be perfect for Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. The game was designed to be simple, as Takumi wanted it to be easy enough for even his mother to play. As it was less common at the time to use professional voice actors, the development team provided the game's voice clips. Each staff member recorded every sample needed for the game, and then the best ones were used. Okay, that is fantastic, knowing that this is... Because, like, if you've ever... I played Max Payne, and if you look at Max Payne, I am convinced that everybody in those comic sections are game developers. Like, they absolutely look like game developers playing gangsters. Anyway, sorry. And then the best ones were used. Takumi used his privilege as the director to cast himself as Phoenix, while Sugimori voiced Von Karma, and Iwamoto voiced Edgeworth. I guess this wouldn't be the English voices, though. The game was originally going to be a detective game, with Phoenix as a private investigator who finds a body at his client's office and is arrested. As the lawyer who is assigned to his case is useless, Phoenix takes up his own defense. One staff member suggested that Phoenix should be a hamster. While this didn't happen, this early version of Phoenix did have a pet hamster. It was decided early during development to refer to the game as Surviban, Attorney Detective Naruhodo-kun, with Surviban being a portmanteau of survival and the Japanese word Saiban, court or trial. Among other names considered were Boogie Woogie Innocence and Bingo Bengo, with Bingo referring to answering correctly and Bengo being Japanese for legal representation. Takumi soon realized that finding and taking apart contradictions were not related to detective work. He felt the main setting of the game should be courtrooms. This, by the way, if you were to do a Sherlock Holmes story, I feel would work reasonably well, but he felt the main setting of the game should be courtrooms. At one point, the game was in danger of being cancelled when 2 staff members left the company, but Takumi's division leader and Inaba enlisted a member of the Resident Evil team to help them part-time. Takumi cited Japanese mystery author Idogawa Ranpo as an inspiration, particularly the psychological test, a short story which involves a crime that unravels due to the criminal's contradictory testimony. It had a big impact on him and was a major influence on the game. It was also inspired by stories from another Japanese author, Shinji Hoshi, stating that he was pursuing his element of surprise and unexpectedness. The voice clips of "Objection" and "Hold it" weren't in the game until halfway during the game's development, when Atsushi Mori joined the team as the co-sound effects designer. So I was definitely... this is definitely the thing I was looking for, but let's go on. We'll learn the rest about the development here, because I'm at least interested in this. Takumi felt the best way to write a mystery with a good climax is to reveal various clues and then put them together into one conclusion and not have multiple possible endings. He said the biggest challenge with this is making the gameplay and story work together. The goal is to make the player feel that they have driven the story forward themselves with their own choices, even though the game is linear. While writing the episodes, Takumi ranked the importance of each. The first episode was the most important to make sure that the player likes the game. The second episode was the second most important to solidify the player's interest, and the finale was the third most important. In general, each scenario was finished before anything else was done. Then characters were designed based on the scenarios, and Takumi adjusted the dialogue as needed to make sure it fit the designs. At this point, the scenes that were to have specific cut-in illustrations made for them were decided. Takumi drew rough sketches of them and also drew the storyboards for the episode's openings, which consisted of a series of detailed drawings showing what is happening. In Takumi's first draft of the story, the second episode, Turnabout Sisters, was the first episode of the game. The development team decided, because of its length among other factors, it did not work well easing players into the game. As a result, he wrote a shorter episode, the first Turnabout, which was used as the game's first episode. This is very Foundation-like, actually. The first story in the Foundation series is not actually the original Foundation series. It was an introduction. I think it's one of the last things that was written, actually. He wanted the players to focus on the thrill of nailing the culprit, especially for the first episode. For this reason, the culprit in the first episode is shown in its opening. This was the most direct way Takumi could think of doing it. Takumi said it was a challenge to write the episode. In addition to keeping it short, he had to set up the world of Ace Attorney and the types of characters players would meet. The third episode was written for the sake of the character Miles Edgeworth, and the theme of the fourth episode was rekindling the relationship. In it, Takumi tried to portray an intensely strong friendship between Phoenix and Edgeworth. He did wonder if that was what people got from it, saying that some people interpreted the bond between Phoenix and Edgeworth as intensively passionate. Because of these two episodes, Takumi considered Edgeworth to be the game's protagonist in a way. The classroom trial in the game's fourth episode is based on real events. When Takumi was in second grade, he had found a 5-yen coin and put it in his pocket. His teacher accused him of stealing it from another student and made him apologize to her. Takumi spent little time writing a backstory for Phoenix before writing the game's story, and instead made up dialogue and developed Phoenix's personality as he went along. He said Phoenix is himself in everything but name, with dialogue similar to what Takumi would have said in each situation in the games. He attributed this to being a first-time writer who did not think about developing characterization before writing the story. Takumi did not write backstory for Dick Gumshoe. His character and personality just fell into place after Takumi decided that the character would end his sentences with pal. Another aspect of the character came about organically as he wrote the story. For instance, at one point, Edgeworth says that he will cut Gumshoe's salary. This became part of Gumshoe's backstory. Takumi came up with a partner character, Maya, thinking that it would be more fun for players to have another character with them, providing advice rather than investigating on their own. Originally, she was going to be a lawyer in training, preparing to take the bar exam. Larry Butts, the game's first defendant, was particularly difficult for Takumi to write. He rewrote the character several times. Originally, he was going to be an average Joe type character who only appeared in the game's fourth episode. After his inclusion in the first episode, however, Sukane and Iwamoto told Takumi to give the character some oomph. Takumi then wrote him as a prickly tough guy who had a habit of telling people he was going to kill them. Some of the higher-ups at Capcom did not like this, so Takumi changed him to a character who laments his lot in life, saying, "I'm going to die," or that the situation is killing him. The third episode's culprit was originally going to be male until Sukane pointed out that all the game's villains were men. The development team debated on what to do with the now female character. Some staff members thought it would be odd to have a female character be the director of an action show, and some wondered what to do with the director role if she could not fill it. In the end, Takumi changed the scriptwriter character to a director and made the culprit a strong, glamorous, fashionable, and cool-headed producer. Music. The game's original soundtrack was entirely composed by Masakazu Sugimori with PCM. The music was originally meant to be composed with programmable sound generator. Sugimori had never made music using a PSG, as he was used to PCM for 2 years, with PCM not being allowed to be utilized for development. Sugimori thought that there was no way that he could make PSG music as good as the Mega Man team, but Asushi Mori told Sugimori to use PCM, not worry about the amount of notes uses or what the team thinks. I feel like this is translated or like Google translated. And to compose as much music as he can on the limited hardware. Despite the game's programmer being angry at Sugimori credits that without Mori, the music and sound effects wouldn't be as good it is now. Besides the team wanting Sugimori to use PSG, Sugimori had the freedom to make any type of music he wanted for the game. However, Takumi gave out instructions to Sugimori to make sure that the music didn't interfere with the thinking process of the player during the deduction scenes of the game, and that every scene needed each scene to have completely different sounding music. Sugimori originally planned to utilize Utizel? Utizel? Fusion music. Ugh. Too many video games. But quickly decided to make music that had the chords of fusion music, but the rhythm of techno music. The first song composed for the game was the game's normal investigation. Jesus, this is worse than me. Investigation theme, Investigation opening 2001. Sugimori found making music for the game and development in general was difficult due to Capcom not having any Game Boy Advance hardware for development for a period of time, only having access to bare motherboards. The team was angry with Sugimori due to the volume being too low despite the volume being set to its highest. The Objection theme, Phoenix Wright Objection 2001, was originally meant to be the main theme of the game, a song created really quickly according to Takumi, when he forgot Sugimori finished the song. Maya and Mia Fey's theme song, Maya Fey, Turnabout Sisters theme 2001, was originally designed to be a happy song, but when Mia was written to be Kill in the game's second trial, the song was made to be more sadder with the addition of a half-tone chord progression in the main part of the track. The Steel Samurai theme song was the only song that was praised by the game's producer, Atsushi Naba. Apparently Sugimori downplayed the melody or sequences in some of the game's other tracks, with some of the songs being downgraded to use bass, so the melody of the Steel Samurai stood out among the game's soundtrack. Sugimori's favorite song he composed was Investigation Core. Near the end of the game's development, Sugimori suddenly left development. Takumi forgot the reason why. Due to his abrupt departure, the team scrambled to put the remaining music that was left behind in some of the scenes that were unfinished during Sugimori's exit. Some of the music that was initially scrapped had to be used in-game. When the team ran out of music tracks to use, including the game's credit theme, End, which was unfinished, the team held a reunion party after the game finished development, to which, according to Takumi, Sugimori was also at the party acting like he didn't leave development. A bonus episode, Rise from the Ashes, was included in the game's 2005 Nintendo DS port. Matsukawa produced the 5th episode under the supervision of Inaba and Mikami. Naoto Tanaka composed new music pieces for Rise from the Ashes. Because the episode is not included in the 2001 Japan-only GBA release, it takes advantage of various Nintendo DS features such as the use of the touchscreen to examine evidence, along with other technical improvements that are missing from the other episodes / original game. The idea to include the use of the Nintendo DS system's microphone came from the American Capcom staff members. The Japanese staff did not like the idea of adding unnecessary features, but Takumi thought it was important to make the American audience happy, and so it was included as an optional feature. Most of the game's soundtrack quality was also enhanced on the Nintendo DS version with an extra audio track that would complement most of the game's melodies. So yeah, I definitely like the writing. Hearing that this was a first effort, I actually think this is really good for what it is. Sorry, gonna take another sip. Like I do like how clear-eyed they are in terms of what the player is bringing to this experience, as opposed to just sort of, here, I'm going to tell you about the world, so sit down and listen to my story, damn it. And I also I like how this describes... So I think one of the things that I really like about this is that some versions of, I was writing this story kind of make it seem like all the good ideas just kind of come pouring into these people. And that might be the way that it is, right? Like I had to explain to somebody, they were asking me some questions about doing the specific kind of writing that I do at work. And I had to come clean with them at the start to just sort of say, I wish I could give you a different answer than this, but, the reason I knew to do this as opposed to something different was just, I felt that way and it worked. And I realized that that's not helpful. So then I kind of tried to reverse engineer and said, so some of the reasons why this might feel more natural, or why this might, where I may, where I may have made a choice that someone else wouldn't have, would be, I'm trying to create a certain amount of distance from this concept while still including it, or I want to reinforce this point, but I'm also trying to avoid this certain thing, which I think will be misinterpreted. And so that's, I'm trying to thread this needle. It's really hard to explain if you don't have the document in front of you. And the thing is that I tend to find, consciously or not, at least for me, a lot of writing can just come down to problem solving. Like I'm trying to communicate a certain thing, or I'm trying to avoid something that I think the reader's going to be thinking of. And so the question is, how do I navigate that within, a certain word count? And actually, one decent example that I'll take of this, there was, we're at the end of the hot potato exercise, and I'll confess that this will be the last anecdote before I jump back into the game. One of the things that really bothered me about that exercise was I got the final entry. So, it's 6 parts, and everybody's writing 500 words as part of a story. And it was one of the organizers who had worked on the 5th part, the penultimate part. And in this short story, in the 5th part, they decided to not only introduce an entirely new character, they also introduced another concept, another major change to the character. And I'm like, this is borderline disrespectful to the person who has to wrap all this up in 500 points. It's bad enough that there are 4 preceding entries where people did not necessarily develop the themes of the earlier entries, but just decided to sort of run in and just add another layer of things. But you have now decided not to bring any resolution or even a direction to all this earlier stuff. You just had to pile on. You needed to make sure that your originality was demonstrated too. And I think I'm annoyed by it a little bit more because they are definitely someone who, it's really clear when they may ask you for your advice, but man, it is really clear when they are not listening. So looking at that did not spark joy, let's say. So, again, I did the best that I could with it. But one of the things I really learned about the hot potato exercise was, again, thinking of writing almost as this type of problem solving where, what's been introduced, who's this character, what are they trying to do right now, what's stopping them from being able to get the thing that they seem to want, it's all this is all stuff that you probably learn in like a basic English class, or literature class. I guess not everybody here is going to have taken English classes. But yeah, I don't know. I think one of the things that I found most amusing and very frustrating about that particular bit of that final one that I worked on. So the first writer had written this story. So it's like 500 words, introductory scenario. And it's basically someone who didn't want to go to a party, being made to go to a party. And the prompt was basically that it needed to contain one lie. So this person being brought by their, the love of their lives, insisting they should go out more. So they go out to this party and they're talking with this, preening know-it-all. He would teach, I'm trying to remember one of the lines, but it's like, would teach patience to the Dalai Lama or something along those lines. And this guy sort of says, there's obviously a little bit of, there's a bit of one-upmanship in it. And, there's earlier on in the first 500 words, he says, I'm not without accomplishments myself. He kind of shares a few things. And, the guy's like, I have a team for Le Mans. And we need, one of them's injured. I need a third. Can you do it? And of course, that's the lie. Yeah, sure, I can do it. So all in all, like not a terrible way to get started, right? Like I think we've all been at a tedious party that we don't want to be at, and then on top of that, we meet some know-it-all. And one of the things that I thought was particularly interesting on this one was that the way of introducing the party, I'm trying to remember exactly how I brought it in, but sort of referred to like ChatGPT profiles. And what was interesting about this was this is a double-edged sword, because I generally don't like the turn that the stories took on this. There are a lot of people in the group who seem to really like urban fantasy to a point where that's like all that they want to write. So that's exactly where these stories, this particular story wound up going in the second part. But what I thought was interesting was that they had introduced this idea of a pill that's kind of like, the Matrix, right? You just download the knowledge into your head. So he became like a race car driver after eating this pill. Or I guess it's there's like a Bradley Cooper movie like Limitless. I guess it's a bit like that. So although I guess in this case it's just limited to a single body of knowledge. So while I wasn't crazy about how people seem to be introducing like deals with the devil and urban fantasy into what could have been a perfectly decent, I've just gotten myself into an incredible, like you can do a wonderful slapstick story with that, or any number of, there's endless variation that you can get out of, guy in the name of his ego agrees to take on something that is completely, out of his competence. There's lots of great stories that I think that can be set up with. I like that as a setup a lot. And I think the one thing that makes that uninteresting is to have a whole bunch of like goths and witches running around with their magic powers. But the one kernel that I thought is like, okay, I'm not crazy about the urban fantasy direction that this is going, but there's something really interesting that has just been set up here, which is you have this idea of the ChatGPT profiles, basically a throwaway line in the in the in the first part of the story to sort of speak to the superficial attendees. You have this, again, this assumption of greater knowledge than someone has, and this could be through the braggart, or this could be through the main character. I would take it through the braggart. But in the second part, even though they went down the urban fantasy route, they introduced the pill that gives you instant knowledge, which basically is the magical, or at least the very least the pharmacological version of ChatGPT. So I kind of have to say that's, I mean, I guess I can be charitable to the second writer. That might have been intentional on their part. But again, all subsequent writers did not take that potentially very interesting idea, right? The idea of the unearned knowledge and the, like, to me, if you've got 3,000 words for a story, what you do is you take that idea, right? I am now part of a team competing in Le Mans. You know, I'm getting some kind of cheat code to work on this. And then you can spend kind of the next, I guess in this case, it'd be another 2,000 words making the problem worse. I guess it would be 1,500 words. And then in the final 500 words, you just, you tie it all up. Go for the Star Wars ending, right? Believe in yourself, Luke, turn off the targeting computer and just fire on instinct. You know, that can be, in my view, a very enjoyable, you know, doesn't overstay its welcome, doesn't try too hard to be interesting story that has that nice little, you know, it's funny because it's true element. You know, we would not it's obviously not a real story. We wouldn't qualify in a situation like that. It's massively dangerous. But, you know, in terms of someone getting their comeuppance for trying to big up in a conversation, sure, you know, you're now competing in this endurance competition for cars and people. But again, none of that happened because apparently somebody wanted the main character to grow scales. Anyways, so all of that is to say, I liked the way that the writing was described, because it was like, think about all the stuff that I was just talking about, and you can see the writers like sitting down, working out their dark urban fantasy, you know, oh, this is so badass, you know, this guy's got magical powers, he's the devil. And instead, what we now have is a guy saying is like, I'm allowed to do any project that I want. I want to do this, you know, detective story. You know what, the detective story's not working, but you know what, the courtrooms are working for this. What's the player experiencing right now? Oh, you know what? I can't do this because that's boring for the player. How do I bring them in? Like, I like the idea of all of these decisions that this writer was making. And again, it's part of it is just, I'm sure some of this is just kind of making the narrative after the fact, but the narrative of how the game was made, not the game itself. But I really do like how all of this is sort of grounded in terms of like, how am I delighting the player here? And it's, I think some of the frustration that I felt with that writing exercise was definitely, I didn't really feel that there was a lot of attention being paid to, I mean, one, I didn't like the fact that it felt like people were just basically not reading the previous stuff that the other people had written. But if nothing else, it just struck me that it was a lot more of an exercise for the writer rather than the reader. I feel that's unfair. I feel like you can write that sort of stuff for yourself and just put it in a drawer. I feel like if you're expecting other people to read that, you do actually need to take some time to think about what they're experiencing. Of course, I say this as I'm monologuing about myself and the stuff that's bugging me, as opposed to playing the game. So back to the game. I'm gonna need to take a break at some point to refill my tea, but let's talk with Mr. Gumshoe and at least Or Detective Gumshoe, my apologies. And we'll figure out an appropriate time to do a break. Me? Oh, well, nothing really. They kicked me out of criminal affairs. Detective Gumshoe? What did you do this time? What do you mean, this time? Then what happened? I know things are busy right now. I mean, with my sister's case and all. It's true. I've never had a chief prosecutor murder anyone before. Only the highest ranked people are being led into criminal affairs now. The lowest ranking guy in there is our chief of detectives. They're not letting any of us rank and file detectives in at all. None of you? I know this is an important trial, but isn't that a little odd? So, anyways, I thought I'd spend the day getting the Badger dance down pat. Isn't there anything else you could be doing? Chief of Police himself is directing this investigation, pal. Officer Marshall was assigned to the underground parking lot. Officer Marshall? Now that I think about it, Emma did seem to know that Marshall guy. A patrolman in charge of the crime scene. It's unheard of, pal. I was wondering about that. What, the Dancing Blue Badger? It's my masterpiece. You made this, Detective Gumshoe? The chief threw together some designs and I just did my thing, pal. Nice work. It's battery powered, so it can go anywhere. There's no switch, so it just dances and dances until the batteries die. Poor Blue Badger, fated to dance until he drops. Blue Badger panel, a work of art designed by the chief of detectives and created by Detective Gumshoe. I never even noticed the tape in the corner. This is truly a masterpiece. Also, how you doing, Vanguard Master? The usual wanted posters are hanging up on the bulletin board here. Do you know this face? If you do, dial 911. You know, Mr. Wright, I've always thought it was kind of funny. I've never seen anyone who looked like the people in these posters. They hardly even look human. She has a point. Look, that patrolman is saluting the other guy. He must be a detective. And then I said, hey, you do that, your soup will get cold, buddy. That's hilarious, sir. I laughed so hard I cried. I guess he wasn't saluting. He was wiping tears from his eyes. They make a good pair. The detectives in there look pretty busy. Just imagine, right now, behind those doors, a police drama in action. Somehow the thought fails to excite me. Mr. Wright, do you know why patrol cars are painted black and white? No idea. Why? Well, I think they're designed after a panda. A panda? Not that I have scientific proof, it's just a theory. Do you mind me asking how you came up with that theory? It was when I was on a school trip. I saw a patrol car and it came to me. We had just been at the zoo, see? What about zebras? Or do they not have those at your zoo? The banner here is announcing the crime-fighting campaign. Nice slogan. I wonder if they'll be selling fingerprinting sets. I don't think it's that kind of campaign. What family wouldn't want a set at home? It's good for finding out who snuck into the cookie jar. I think most families can figure that out without the extra help. I always get excited when I come to a police station. Why is that? It just feels like I've jumped into a movie. Huh? You know, with all the police and criminals. Well, I don't know if this is all that exciting. Sure it is. Look at those two officers over there. They're probably talking about the latest bust. Funny, I thought they were talking about the weather. Nope. Found in Mr. Edgeworth's car, stabbed with Mr. Edgeworth's knife, huh? What would drive Chief Prosecutor Skye to do such a thing? Wait, I didn't mean... I mean, sure, of course someone else really did it. Someone must have, someone who must have a grudge against Mr. Edgeworth. The car and the knife do seem a little too well organized to be a coincidence. Poor Mr. Edgeworth. What could have happened? I have to find out a little bit more about what's going on with Edgeworth. Okay, tell you what. I want to go into the... Oh, all right. I was going to try and go into the police office, but maybe we'll just present... As a detective, I have to keep my mouth shut on that one. I know better than to go blabbing on about things I don't know about. Oh, I wouldn't want you to do that either. Good. Hey, that's it. That's the King of Prosecutors Award that Mr. Edgeworth got yesterday. Were you at the award ceremony, Detective Gumshoe? Of course, pal. I got an award for diligence myself. Ah, congratulations. I was wondering, why is the award a shield? And why is it broken? Oh, there's a reason. I'll tell you what it is later. Apparently, he's forgotten. But I was proud of Mr. Edgeworth for winning that award. Even with all the naysayers in the prosecutor's office. Naysayers? Must be because of the rumors. Detective Gumshoe, what can you tell me about this? Huh? Hey, pal. This is a detective's ID card. You can't just keep that. You have to turn it into the police. It's people like you that get me into so much trouble all the time. Meaning Detective Gumshoe must drop his card a lot. Let's see. Bruce Goodman. Goodman? Sounds familiar. Ah, my mistake. But didn't you work together with him in criminal affairs? Whoa! Now I remember! Bruce Goodman. He's the victim. That's what I thought. Can you tell us more, Detective Gumshoe? So this ID card belonged to the victim. He was a detective like myself. Detective Bruce Goodman. Don't you think it's strange? I mean, why would the victim's ID card be lying on the ground where we found it? Well, Detective Goodman should have been at the police department yesterday. There was an evidence transferal for a case he handled 2 years ago. Evidence transferal. Mr. Edgeworth mentioned that too. But Detective Goodman was killed at the prosecutor's office. Well, that's the thing. It's hard to say this, but word is that Chief Prosecutor Skye called him out there to the parking lot. And Lana's confessing as much. He's in a tough spot. Again. Again? Well, it all started with the murder of that defense attorney, Hammond. But Mr. Edgeworth was found innocent. Listen, pal, there have always been rumors about Mr. Edgeworth. Forging evidence, making deals with witnesses. Nothing outright, but there were always whispered rumors. Ever since he was accused of murder, no one's whispering. They're practically shouting. But there's no evidence against him. Well, Mr. Edgeworth has always had unusually strong ties to the department higher-ups. It's only natural that people would be suspicious. I had no idea he was under the gun. Anyway, this latest case has started a new rumor. People say the only reason he took this case is because he's aiming for the chief prosecutor position himself. What? But I know the truth, pal. Nobody wants to be the one who has to prosecute the chief prosecutor. Mr. Edgeworth is biting the bullet on this one. He's doing this for all of us. And that's all I know about that. I'm not officially on the case, you know. Thank you. Why aren't you handling the case, Detective Gumshoe? We met the guy who is. What was his name? The guy in the parking lot. That'd be Officer Marshall. He was appointed directly by the Chief of Police. Officer Marshall? Is he some kind of Wild West sheriff or something? No, Jake Marshall's a regular officer. From West LA. For a moment there, I wasn't sure. Look, pal, let me try to make things a little easier for you. Show them this, and they'll let you examine the crime scene. Maybe. Detective Gumshoe's letter of introduction added to the court record. Received from Detective Gumshoe allows the bearer to investigate the crime scene. I'll be surprised if this gets us anywhere. Just act like you're supposed to be there, and nobody will look at you twice, pal. Alright, I'm going to take a second to refill my tea. So, I do need to boil the kettle, so again, I don't want this to be too long. I'll try to keep it shorter than the last couple of ones, but I do need to, you know, make the water hot. So, I do encourage you to get up, have a stretch, maybe make some tea yourself. Don't make some tea, whatever you need. I'll boil what I want. Anyways, but yeah, I'll try and keep it. I'll try and keep it quick. But as usual, I'm always bad at estimating when I'll be back. So, for those of you that just want to be sold useful products and services, your time has arrived. Assuming you aren't subbed. A lot of you are subbed, so maybe none of you will see the ads. Anyways, I'll see you all in a little bit. Alright, thank you for your patience. I don't think that was too long. I hope that wasn't too long. Okay. February 22nd, prosecutor's office, underground parking lot. Looks like the investigation is still going. I have to be getting back to the shop. Sorry, looks like I'll be stuck in this pit till the sun sleeps. I'll see you in my dreams tonight then, baby. Oh, still here? Hello? Why the surprised looks? Didn't I mention? I've got a boyfriend in criminal affairs too. What happened to the security guard? Hey, what's wrong, Bambina? You're looking like a doggy that's lost its herd. Jake Marshall. Strange guy to put in charge of a crime scene. There's something I wanted to ask you. Scene of the crime, a cold grave for men who've lost their dreams. Me, I'll watch over them as they sleep, dreaming of the desert's harsh judgment. He's asleep. Should we show this hopeless case something to catch his interest? There's something I wanted to ask you. Scene of the crime, cold grave for men who've lost their dreams. And me, I watch over them as they sleep, dreaming of the desert's harsh judgment. He's asleep. Oh, should we show this hopeless case something to catch his interest? I think we should just slide to the side. Would you mind reading this for me? What's this? I warn you, fan letters go right to the spittoon. It's a letter of introduction from Detective Gumshoe. May we investigate? Gumshoe? Ah, that old cow dog? You holding a birthday party or something? Huh? Look, where it should say letter of introduction, it says invitation. Ah, I think he just miswrote it. Wait, why am I getting all defensive here? No worries, this proves it's from Detective Gumshoe. Better than a blood test. Guess I'd better let you in then. Thank you, Officer Marshall. Oh, that's right. He's a patrolman, not a detective. Which reminds me. Hey, wait a sec. Isn't a crime scene supposed to be handled by a detective or higher? Well, folks, clues are calling. Welcome to our gold strike. Be like the settlers, strike out for lands unknown. Manifest destiny. Let's have a hootenanny. Note to self, police investigations are like settling land. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say? I say I won't be needing this anymore. Detective Gumshoe's letter of introduction crumpled and discarded. And a 1, and a 2. It's rope, is it? Yep. They laid it in the outline of the victim's body. So wait, the victim must have died when the killer closed the trunk on him. You have got to be the only person I know who'd come to that conclusion. Wait, where's number 2? This looks like a cell phone. Scientific analysis would suggest this belonged to the victim. I can't think of anyone else it could belong to. What's so scientific about that? Should we check it out? Right. Let's check it out. Man, what a boring strap. What's wrong with it? Everyone has different tastes, you know. Here, check out mine. It's a pink princess strap. These are hard to come by, you know. I see the series is as popular as ever with kids. Youths! This phone's still on the redial screen. Redial? Mr. Wright, most phones keep a record of the calls you've made and received. You just press the blue button to display the last number you called. Convenient, isn't it? I'm surprised you didn't know about it. Sorry to disappoint you, but even I know about things like redial. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. It's just, you never know with people from your generation. Whatever. Let's check this phone out. Now to see who the owner of this phone called last. Note to self, a defense attorney doesn't think first, he just pushes the button. Hey, that song. I know that. Hey, what's going on over there? Oh, sorry. I see you, partner. You pressed redial on that there phone, didn't you? Well, yeah. Whose phone is this anyway? It was on the ground over there. Whose is it? That belongs to Chief Prospector Sky. What? It's my sister's? She apparently dropped it when she was taken into custody right after the crime. Well, the last call was made right when the murder occurred. Looks like she was fixing to call someone. Except she only spoke for a few seconds, according to this. Who did she call? No idea. Sorry, partner. Now, I got a question for you, partner. I heard a phone ring just now. One of those newfangled ringtones. Oh, that? I'm sorry. That was my phone. What? Your phone? Yeah, it's kind of strange, but someone called me right as we picked up the other phone. Wrong number. I hope you're not lying. They shoot you for that in Texas, partner. Uh-oh. I have incited the wrath of the Lone Star Patrolman. Cell phone added to the court record. Property of Lana Sky. Last called made at 5:18 on the day of the murder. B block is through there. That's where the visitors park. You can see the Lunchland car from over there, far in the distance. Hey, you're right. I like the cute design on the door. I can see a cartoon cow munching down on a juicy-looking steak. Doesn't that strike you as a little creepy? Just don't you think too deeply about it and you'll be fine. What's this? Looks like a note of some sort. 675-12-2. Goodman. Saul Goodman. Look, something's written on it. You're right. Let's see. 67S-12-2. There's a name printed on the paper above that. Goodman. Maybe it fell out of his pocket when he was killed. Well, so, what does it mean, Mr. Wright? How am I supposed to know? For self, for deductive reasoning, go to Edgeworth, not Wright. Sure, Edgeworth wouldn't know what this means either. Excuse me. Goodman's note added to the court record. This appears to be the car where the body was found. It looks like the lock on the trunk is busted. The crime took place in the underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. The body was found in the trunk of my subordinate's car. Quite a luxury car. Just screams, I have money to burn. Yeah, prosecutors get the big bucks. I think that's it for investigations. Man. There's no need to push this again. What's wrong? I look like I do during finals. Never mind. It's nothing. Officer Marshall, could you tell us more about the victim? Good men always die young. Remember that, partner. Hey, Revive Snow. It's okay. I had one thing I wanted to get done today that I didn't get on top of, but most of the rest was done. And I'm so boring in the sense that I only talk about work, but yeah, I will confess, I feel like I've been more tired because of the heat than anything. But yeah, sounds like, I don't know if it was a full day for you or just you're so... I will say, having the holiday on the Tuesday is weird. It felt like a Monday, but I realized I only have like 2 days left in the week. And I've got some scary deadlines coming up. Anyways, good to see you, Revive Snow. As always, for those of you who do not know Revive Snow, a lovely fellow Canadian broadcaster, a camless, voiceless broadcaster who is doing Space Marine 2 in all of its glory, except when it was crashing. And everyone was working extra hard on Monday and today for some reason, probably to make up for the day that they lose on Tuesday. Anyways, absolutely a delight to have Revive Snow both in the channel, but also to be able to watch. And while I do highlight the camless voiceless stream, it's a very unique hook, at least for me. I'd never seen it before, but I will actually say it is. I've gotten a lot out of the games that I kind of want to try from Revive Snow. I think I probably have the largest number of, like, so it depends on the streamers that I watch, but basically for Revive Snow, I think it's fair to say this is probably one of the higher ratios of, like, at least for this year, people whose stuff I've watched to things that I actually add to my wish list. I think the last one in particular, I actually just thought Revive Snow did such a wonderful job with this one, but it was, I can never remember the name properly too. Islands and Trains, which sadly is not on sale, but on the other hand, it's like $8.99 Canadian, so I don't exactly know what I'm saving by waiting. But it's the easiest sales pitch in the world. Do you like islands? Do you like trains? Have we got a game for you? But no, like I said, Revive Snow never ceases to surprise me in terms of the games they wind up playing on their channel. But I will actually just say too, like in terms of it's not just stuff that I enjoy watching, but it is actually stuff that I enjoy watching and kind of say, you know what, that one's going on the wish list. Doesn't mean I'll buy it right away, but it's definitely I've definitely picked up more than a few goodies for the wish list, let's say. Anyway, back to the investigation. Could you be a little more specific? Bruce Goodman. He was a detective, right? Well, well, aren't you a feisty doggy now? There now. Detective Goodman was stabbed here at 5:15. Smiling Madonna told me the tale. I think he means the witness, Miss Angel Starr. Once stabbed to the chest, a fine piece of work. This here's the autopsy report. Goodman's autopsy report added to the court record. Death due to loss of blood, one knife wound, died within an hour and a half of 4 p.m. Was my sister involved with the victim in any way? Funny you should mention that, Bambina. Chief Prospector Sky and Detective Goodman had nothing in common at all. This is true. That's to revive Snow's comment, not the game, obviously. Nothing in common? They apparently worked together on a case a few years back. So there's no motive. Goodman wasn't a particularly gifted detective. That's one reason why I didn't do much work with the chief prospector. My sisters called the victim here on the day of the murder, right? Here, to this parking lot? So it seems, like calling an unarmed man to a shootout at high noon. I don't mean any offense, but Officer Marshall, you're a patrolman, right? Not a detective? You calling me out? They shoot you for that in Texas. Huh? I was one of them fancy-shoed detectives till 2 years ago, to tell you the truth. Really? Now he tells me. But you're a patrolman now, so how can you be in charge of a crime scene? Nothing gets by you, does it, Bambina? So why are you in charge? No reason? We're just short on hands right now. I'm keeping an eye out in the meantime. It's odd, though. Detective Gumshoe was saying he had nothing to do. Nothing important, at least. He's nothing but a sad old cow dog that can't find his tail. Maybe it's because he runs with that Edgeworth, eh? Edgeworth? That cow dog's been kicked out of its kennel run by order of the chief of police. Just, you don't realize it yet. Detective Gumshoe kicked out of the investigation? So there's no connection between Detective Goodman and my sister. That's correct, but there's a gold mine of evidence against her. And the prospector tomorrow is none other than Edgeworth himself. I'm afraid your sister's fate is decided, Bambina. Many condolences. Officer Marshall. Yeah, Bambina? How can you say that? You and my sister, you were... Is there something between this cop and her sister that I don't know about? I apologize, Bambina. Something must have gotten into me. Maybe it's that dry wind that's blowing through the prospector's office. Dry wind or ill will? Someone's up to something here. But who? Suspicions about Mr. Edgeworth have been flying around for nearly 2 years now. Forged evidence and arranging testimonies, you mean? It was unbeatable because he did whatever it took to win. Unbeatable, that is, until he met you. But rumors are just rumors, aren't they? These are prosecutors we're talking about. Evidence is everything to them. If you follow the rumors about Edgeworth to their source, you find one person. But they're off limits. Untouchable, you might say. One person? Who? Hate to say this, but it's your sister, Bambina. Chief Prospector Lana Skye. What? My sister? Edgeworth couldn't rustle all those cattle by himself. Some people load their guns with bullets. Some people load them with deals. What you're saying? What? You're saying Edgeworth was making deals to win trials? Where there's gunshots, there's bound to be bullets. That's what the old-timers say. There's a big old secret hidden around here somewhere. Everyone knows it. Is that why Detective Gumshoe was taken off the case? Did they target him because he was closest to Edgeworth? So, well, how are we doing, Mr. Wright? I guess we've got some clues. We have an autopsy report, a note from the victim, and a cell phone. So you think we'll be okay? I think we've started a scavenger hunt. Well, the only thing still bothering me is that Lana is confessing to the crime. She says she did it. No problem. I can guarantee that she's not the criminal. Oh, by the way, Emma? Yes? I know that song your phone plays when it rings. What? We're doing this for another 5 hours for those of you that want to get some dinner. It's a Steel Samurai theme song, isn't it? That popular TV show for kids? The phone that rang earlier wasn't mine. It was yours. At 5:18, just after the murder took place, your sister called you, didn't she, Emma? I'm sorry. Can you tell me what you talked about? She hung up right away. I see. Cell phone updated in the court record. Property of Lana Skye. Last call she made to her sister Emma at 5:18 on the day of the murder. A detective is murdered, and the suspect is the top prosecutor in the district. I've got a bad feeling about this. Like maybe I still don't know everything that went on here. To be continued. February 23rd, 9:34 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 2. How did the investigation go yesterday, Mr. Wright? Frankly, there are still a lot of gray areas. Or rather, the whole thing is one big gray area. Don't worry about me, no matter what the outcome. I'm ready to accept my fate. I believe in you, sis. Mr. Wright, let me offer you a word of advice. Yes? A defense attorney should never believe their client. The defendant is called to the trial because they are suspected of wrongdoing. Never forget that. Miss Skye, you remind me a lot of Mia. But there is one decisive difference between you and her, other than being alive. And that is, you're not a defense attorney. I believe it's almost time for the trial. Good luck, Mr. Wright. My first trial without a Fae helping me. No one's gonna bail me out this time. I'll be alone in there. So I have to discover the truth all by myself. Let's do it, Mr. Wright. I'll be with you the whole way. February 23rd, 10 a.m., District Court, Courtroom number 9. Number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution has been ready for a while, Your Honor. Edgeworth. It's been 2 months, but I haven't been in a courtroom since his trial. I hope that personal feelings will not be a part of the proceedings today, Mr. Wright. I will choose the path I think is right, regardless of what those around me might say. The judgment to be made here is in our hands, not those of anyone else. Very well, Mr. Edgeworth. Your opening statement, please. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye has committed an unpardonable crime. Not only this, but she was rash enough to commit it in the prosecutor's office lot. Wow, he's much more forceful in person. I suddenly feel like confessing to everything. However, she will now pay for her rashness with her life. There was a witness to her crime. A professional witness. Well then, call your first witness, Mr. Edgeworth. The prosecution calls its first witness, Miss Angel Starr, to the stand. The cough-up queen. Haven't I seen you somewhere? You ordered the caviar lunch, right? Ho ho! Caviar! I've never eaten caviar before. The judge is really wolfing it down. And for you, I have the Fiesta Bowl. Thanks. Will the witness state her name and profession? Ah, and you, sir. Did you order the fingerprint lunchbox? It's too early for lunch. Your name and profession, please. Well, Your Honor, how does it taste? So this is why everyone raves about caviar. It's so tasty it hurts. I always thought caviar would taste like pickled tapioca. What the heck does pickled tapioca taste like? Name, profession, now. Me? Name is Angel Star. Don't go forgetting it. I find myself running Lunchland these days. Is that what you wanted me to say, Mr. Edgeworth? Very well, witness. Please describe the incident to us. Prosecution will wait. I'm not finished eating. Hurry it up. Very well, Mr. Edgeworth. As you know, we usually call on the police to provide a description of the crime. Your Honor, as Mr. Edgeworth has said to the court, I am a professional. Huh? What exactly does that mean? Until 2 years ago, Miss Angel Starr was a special investigator with the police. She was a first-rate homicide detective. What? Miss Starr was a detective? Aha! I know who you are. Cough Up. Cough Up Queen Angel Star, Your Honor. Long time no see. Very well. You may continue with the description, Miss Starr. Just who is this lady? If I might have the court's attention over here. The parking lot at the prosecutor's office is divided into 2 blocks. A block is for the prosecutor's office personnel. B block is for visitors and clients. A chain divider separates the 2 blocks. I suppose that's to keep visitors from taking up prosecutor spaces, yes? The crime took place by a car on the back of A block in the car's trunk. The killer stabbed the victim with this knife and went to drive the body out. Unfortunately for her, there was a witness and an arrest was made on the spot. And who was this valiant witness? Why, it was me, Your Honor. Parking lot floor plans added to the court record. Witness, did you see the very moment of the crime? Of course, Your Honor. Immediately after that, I apprehended the chief prosecutor. Seems rather cut and dry, doesn't it? Well, Mr. Wright? I can't agree on principle, Your Honor. Seems that some poor losers are unwilling to accept the truth, Your Honor. Shall I proceed to crush what little hope they have remaining? If you can, then give them your worst, Miss Starr. Wait, are they talking about me? Sorry. I'm perching on my chair now, but my knees keep bumping the mic. Somehow I always knew a day like this would come. I was on my way to deliver a lunchbox to my boyfriend. I sensed something, perhaps it was my finely honed detective's intuition at work. Through the wire fence, I saw the chief prosecutor standing next to the garish car. Alright, so I'm assuming this is where the contradiction's gonna come in, because I don't see how she could arrest the prosecutor through the fence. The chief prosecutor was holding a knife in her right hand. Then she thrust the pointy tip of the knife into Detective Goodman's chest. Bringing a lunchbox to your boyfriend. How touching. As you can see, there is no room for doubt. The key point of your testimony seems to be nothing other than the point of the knife which you saw being stabbed into Detective Goodman. So, how does it feel to be so utterly crushed? I'm still thinking about that. It's merely a flesh wound, Mr. Wright. Very well, Mr. Wright. You may cross-examine the witness. Somehow, I always knew a day like this would come. How did you know? I respect the prosecutor's basic abhorrence of crime. Yet their methods are ugly and twisted. twisted methods will always lead to tragedy. The lunch lady's uninformed opinion is duly noted. Given that they are used to erasing inconvenient evidence at their whim, killing off a detective that knew too much is merely an extension of that. Miss Starr, do you have something personal against prosecutors? I felt that I had found my dream job when I became an investigator. And if I hadn't been laid off by those prosecutors over there, I'd still be one. Laid off? She was fired. To me, prosecutors are nothing more than worms. That said, I'm a pro, as you know. My testimony is unbiased and flawless. Very well. You may continue, Miss Starr. I was on my way to deliver a lunchbox to my boyfriend. This boyfriend. He's the detective. Not that boyfriend, the security guard. That boyfriend? You have several? Yes, this boyfriend, that boyfriend, and the other boyfriend. Care to join? The yet another boyfriend position is still open for applicants. I'll stick with the lunches, thanks. Note to self, the judge had to think before replying. The security guard room is in the lot in A block. It's up on the second level, so you can see everything from there. That would be the room with the security sign. Incidentally, did you bring your lunch boxes by car? Since I'm a visitor now, I parked in B block. So she was in B block when she witnessed the crime. Yeah, they're really pushing that point. When I sensed something, perhaps it was my finely honed detective's intuition at work. You sensed something, so you're saying you had a premonition of the murder. It felt like, how would you say? Oh yes. It was like the feeling you get when you view a pumpkin chock full of seeds. I have no idea what that means. Speaking of a detective's intuition, wasn't the victim, Mr. Bruce Goodman, also a detective? Yes, well, he was like a young cheese. A young cheese. A pale white cheese, not yet tangy with experience on the streets. A greenhorn. I must be hard, yellowed, and sharp as a tack. Yeah, with the odor of an old cheese to match. In any case, there, in the lot, I felt something stirring in the back of my mind. Through the wire fence, I saw the chief prosecutor standing next to a garish car. By garish car, you mean Mr. Edgeworth's car, yes. Mr. Edgeworth's? Incidentally, the knife with which the victim was stabbed was also Mr. Edgeworth's. Wasn't it? Indeed it was. What an odd case this is. And the person you saw, you are sure it was the defendant? I saw her from no further than 30 feet away. I am certain it was her. If she's telling the truth, we're doomed. Let's just do what we can. Even if we don't have any proof, we can always nitpick. Witness! In your testimony, you clearly stated the following. Prosecutors are nothing more than worms, ergo, you are a biased witness. You might want to keep those silly opinions to yourself in the future, rookie. Huh? Rookie? Unless you're willing to risk the consequences of doubting me. I'll fry you like a fritter. Crispy on the outside, chewy on the inside. That was inspiring. I believe I've heard that tagline elsewhere. Could you cry plagiarism? I may be relegated to the lowest post of lunch lady, but my instincts are honed. Photograph? You took this? The moment I witnessed the crime, my reflexes took over and snap, I took a picture. In fact, one of my lunch boxes is rigged with a camera. I suppose that's more exciting than just hanging it around your neck. Witness, why am I only seeing this photograph just now? You think I'd show it to you? A prosecutor? Think again. My boyfriend works in the photography division of criminal affairs. Well, This is most certainly the defendant. Uh-oh. That is unmistakably Lana Skye. So what was the defendant doing at the time? The chief prosecutor was holding a knife in her right hand. Tell me more about this knife that the suspect was carrying. Well, I'd say the blade was about 4 inches long. Is that right, Mr. Edgeworth? It is your knife, after all. Takri, 2.5 years feels like way too long for you to be wasting your prime on me, but I am very, very grateful for it, and very happy to see you. How you doing tonight? Excuse me. Yes, that's about right. Prosecutors are, by nature, well versed in the location of a man's vital organs. I'm sure it was easier than boiling an egg for my egg salad surprise set. You can't testify as to her ability to kill an person? Perhaps chicken salad set would... excuse me, would have been a better metaphor. So the defendant was holding a knife. What then? Then she thrust the pointy tip of the knife into Detective Goodman's chest. Tell the court why you didn't try to stop this crime. You did see her raise the knife to strike, no? The defense has a point. Unfortunately, by the time I realized what was going on, it was already too late. Too late. Yes, the next moment, the chief prosecutor brought down the murder weapon. I see. It's only a flesh wound, Mr. Wright. We can make it. You said that before. Anything else? Scientifically speaking, Miss Starr's testimony is flawless. That was pretty fatal to me. What do we do? Is this it? Is my sister guilty? Let's just keep our heads cool and press the witness a bit, shall we? For some reason, having her panicking next to me makes me feel calmer. Don't smile like that! Alright, so I'm just going to try contradicting the... I'm going to try contradicting the positioning statement. Although, I actually don't think this is gonna... So if it's the idea that she's the one who arrested her, I don't find that a contradict. I'm gonna try it anyway, because I was sort of committed to it, but I actually don't think this is gonna work now that I think about it, because... This evidence clearly reveals the contradiction in that statement, Your Honor. How exactly are that evidence and the statement just now related? They aren't, are they? Not at all. Mr. Wright, please think the facts before making accusations. Sorry, think the facts over. I don't think that won me any points with the judge. Yeah, that was... I think the thing I'm more annoyed at myself with now is... I clearly talked myself out of it and still went on with it anyway. Oh, hang on. So this is kind of funny. This is a really, really big stretch, but like, so she was wielding the knife in the right hand in the image during the testimony, but she's closing the trunk with the left. Now, I don't know, right? Like, I feel like you can close a trunk with either hand, but this might work. Clearly the parking lot didn't really. Chief Prosecutor was holding a knife in her right hand. Tell me more about this knife the suspect was carrying. Well, I'd say the blade was about 4 inches long. Is that right, Mr. Edgeworth? It is your knife, after all. Yes, that's about right. Prosecutors are, by nature, well-versed in the locations of men's vital organs. I'm sure it was easier than boiling an egg for my egg salad surprise set. You can't testify as to her ability to kill a person. Perhaps a chicken salad set would have been a better metaphor. So the defendant was holding the knife. What then? She thrusts the pointy tip of the knife into Detective Goodman's chest. Okay, I'm going to... I'm gonna try the photo here, but if I lose another one, this is a point where I really need to... I think I'm gonna need to do the whole set of presses again. That sounds right. And you witnessed this. You saw Miss Skye stab the victim with the knife? As I've already said, yes. I swear it on my finest salmon swirl lunch. I'm sure that's a fine lunch. But isn't that odd? Look at this photograph. This is the photograph you took of the very moment of the crime, is it not? Then why is Miss Skye not holding a knife? Oh, okay. It's not about hands. Mr. Edgeworth, your thoughts? Objection. That had to be the weakest objection ever, Edgeworth. Yet it was still stronger than your ever-feeble mind, Mr. Wright. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? This photograph was not taken the moment before the stabbing. This was taken the moment after the stabbing. Objection! And how can you tell that? Blood splatter. Huh? See the dark crimson stains on the chief prosecutor's coat? But it's a black and white photograph. Ah, yes, it's hard to tell, but this could be blood. Well, Mr. Wright, I see no problem here. No problem, except you. Mr. Wright, are you just going to sit there and take this kind of abuse? You got a better idea? Wait, that contradicts what the witness said in her testimony. Namely, that she took the picture the moment she witnessed the crime. Well, it seems I was slightly unclear. My apologies. That's it. If you run out of lunch, you order seconds. Problem solved. If you don't like it, try ordering the jumbo-sized lunch from the get-go. Good advice. I'm not sure I understood it, but good advice. I didn't have time to stop her. Prosecutor Skye was cold, calculating, like a robot. She killed without pain or remorse. It was a premeditated murder. Objection! Premeditated? How do you know? Look at the chief prosecutor's hands in that photograph. Well, are those gloves? Surgical gloves, made of thin rubber, most likely. Why would she have those on? If it was not premeditated, she would not be wearing those gloves. What? These gloves do seem to tell a tale of premeditation. Premeditated murder, a serious offense. Witness, add this to your testimony. The murder was planned. The rubber gloves prove it. What if she was just in the habit of wearing gloves, like driving gloves? The gloves were admitted as evidence when the defendant was arrested. They were rubber gloves of the kind used for autopsies. In other words, when the chief prosecutor came to the crime scene, she came to do murder. It's the only possible conclusion one can make. Everything was planned. It was a premeditated crime. Ah! Impressive. I'm sorry they took you off the force, Miss Starr. This is bad. She's got them thinking it was all planned. If she can prove this claim, the trial's already over. Got to think of a way to show that this wasn't premeditated. It's only a flesh wound, Mr. Wright. We can make it. I said that before. Anything else? Scientifically speaking, Starr's testimony is flawless. Sounds pretty fatal to me. What do we do? Is this it? Is my sister guilty? Let's just keep our heads cool and press the witness a bit, shall we? For some reason, having her panicking next to me makes me calmer. Don't smile like that. Okay, so we've got all the same testimony with one extra bit. I would assume that the extra bit is what we focus on, but I want to review the evidence. So first of all, it says that the gloves were admitted into evidence, but I don't... I clearly don't see them, so it's not going to be directly related to the gloves. I would assume probably something about the premeditation, because I think there was I'm trying to remember, there was some indication that they didn't know each other? Excuse me. If I limit myself just to the idea of premeditation, I would have to imagine the improvised weapon. So in terms of... So what I basically need to do, if I'm limiting myself to the idea of the gloves, and I don't have the gloves as evidence to work with, I have the things that would be available at the time. So we've got the murder weapon. I don't think the parking stub really gives us anything, because that's in Miles's possession. The autopsy basically tells us things that we already know. I mean, I guess there's the victim's memo, but I'm not sure how that establishes anything as to motive. There's the cell phone. So if there's a way, I guess I would say if there's a way that I can connect the call to Emma to the idea of premeditation. Excuse me. Specifically because it's wanting me to deal with premeditation, it would seem to me that the improvised weapon is the clearest evidence that I can bring to that. That sounds right. Witness, do you know what this is? Are you trying to test me? I sell boxed lunches for a living, you know. That's a knife. The knife. The knife that was in Mr. Edgeworth's trunk. Indeed, it is my knife. What's with this case? The defendant is the chief prosecutor for the district, right? Mommy, prosecutors bad people? The defense has a request. We ask that the witness provide an accurate testimony. What's that, rookie? In your testimony, you stated that Lana Skye planned this murder. And that's why she was wearing those special gloves. Seems like a natural conclusion to me. The gloves do indicate planning. However, why would she not also prepare the most important thing? The murder weapon. Oh. The knife just happened to be in the trunk of that car. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to plan a murder, you don't forget the weapon. Order! 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 Great. Now the tide is turning in our favor. Great show, Mr. Wright. My sister's as good as free. Right. I believe the next lunch you'll be eating is humble pie. What? I hope you weren't deluding yourself into thinking that the tide has turned. Not over such a trifling detail. But this shoots a hole in the whole premeditated theory. Bah! The prosecution could care less if it was premeditated or not. The only one who seems to care is that lunch lady over there. The defendant, Lana Skye, murdered a detective with a knife. That is the only thing the prosecution need prove. Nothing else. Takri says, so when I play the VNs I do, the Otome dating sims, I 100% look up the right answers to guarantee the best story. I think I do it for... So the only thing, I've never got to a point where the, like the health bar goes to zero, or well, whatever the bar is, like the number of times you can annoy the judge or whatever. I've never gotten to 0 on that, and I don't know if it like fails you or resets you or anything like that. So you don't have too much to worry about on this one. I imagine it probably gets a little irritating or it gets a little frustrating if you if you feel really lost and go through. Like I will not lie. I feel I have gotten a bit more lucky than I should in this. So like the murder weapon connection was almost a complete flyer, right? Like obviously I did some sort of reasoning, but it was essentially me sort of getting a little meta with it to say that there's one additional piece of information. That's the gloves, the idea of premeditation. What do I have in the courtroom? Oh yeah, then the other information that generally you only kind of, you can get more pieces of evidence when you press, I find, but in order to actually progress the case forward, you usually need to present some kind of objection. And so effectively what that does is that reduces the problem down to what pieces in the court record do you have that contradict the one area. And in this case, because there was only one extra piece of information, it sort of stood to reason that there were 2 or 3 things, and the knife was just the one that seemed the least the least unlikely. So it's not as bad as all that, Kree, but I will say, like, I don't know if the idea of like cycling through chat, I almost actually stopped playing at one point because I love having Diluted Daybreak in the channel, but there's one of her viewers that apparently takes this game very seriously, and if you don't play it perfectly, they'll let you know you're doing it wrong. And I was very much at a point, the following stream, I was like, do I really want to put up with this in the next one? And I'm glad that I stuck with it, right? Because I have truly enjoyed it. Also, incidentally, the person doesn't come back. But it's, yeah, as I think if you have to get it right, or if you don't like the idea of cycling through the dialogue, that might be a bit challenging. But I think the stakes are pretty low in terms of like losing. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I think it's reasonable to assume that anybody on a stream is probably trying to respond to chat as well, and so you can you can get by. um I feel like it's appropriate to let people like have a bit of a break. But I don't know. It's an eternal struggle for me. But yeah, that was just it really what it is. It's a way of me trying to say like, I think the game has that health. I actually don't know what happens if the health bar goes to 0. It may actually just be something to make you feel nervous rather than actually punishing you for anything. But I think it's really there to just stop you from brute forcing every item in the court record. And there are definitely some sort of bananas connections to draw. I will, by the way, recommend that. I've really had a blast with this. So I don't know. The only dating sim I've ever really done is Boyfriend Dungeon. So I don't know how well that compares to what you do, Cree. But I would definitely say I've liked this, and I think for the most part you're in a reasonably safe spot. But I don't think there's anything wrong with looking up a guide. Like if you just wanted to do like a pure story mode and just sort of follow through the guide, I imagine you'd probably get some of the fun. I do find though every once in a while, especially when things get particularly like silly, one of the things I like about that is like if you're on the same wavelength as the game, it's especially when it gets silly, it's quite fun to be in sync. Very good, Mr. Prosecutor. I suppose you think you're clever now. But you know as well as I do that she planned on killing him. It was planned. If it wasn't, why would she have been wearing... I believe I'd like to hear your testimony again. Witness, please tell us only what you saw, not what you thought. How dare you? My powers of deduction are not to be underestimated. Really now. By the way, this isn't exactly a great little detail of my life, but not this city that I lived in. I think I have told this story, not a version of the story, but I've told a fragment of this story before. But in a place that I lived, this is years ago now. But when I got home one night, very late at night, there were a bunch of sort of police cars outside, not my apartment, but it was sort of close enough that I was wondering if something had happened. And I got there and it wasn't at my apartment building, so I felt like reasonably okay with that. But it was definitely in the building next door. And, it's late, I'm getting home, and I don't necessarily want to be a snoop. But, obviously it's the police. So it wouldn't be like the first time I'd seen sort of police in the area, but it's not exactly like, the cops are regularly showing up there, let's say. But what really got my attention was the next morning when I looked out my window, because it sort of looks down into the other, to the neighbor, and there were like people in the suits, like the full on like, clean room sort of suit looking things going around. I was like, oh, like that's not good. Like something serious happened. And shortly after that, there's like a fairly strong knock that comes at my my door, and it is 2 police officers. So there was a genuine murder that had happened to the place next door, or at the place next door. But one of the details that I remember about that really specifically, I was absolutely no help to the officers at all. It's like I just had to say, like, I got home, I gave like a rough estimate in terms of the time. It's like I saw the police car there. Obviously, you wonder, but it's also none of my business. So went home. I really don't know if there's anything I can say. I was not, I wasn't in the area, anytime that you don't have more reliable evidence of. Oh yeah, so you missed everything. And, thanks for answering. Apparently a lot of my neighbors were pretending not to be around. And this kind of this feels like such a I don't know if this is a me thing or a guy thing to admit, but they were very, very beautiful women. And there is a side of me to this day. I don't exactly have regular encounters with the police as part of, some kind of investigation or canvassing or anything like that. But there is actually a side of me that wonders, right? Are those particular officers chosen because some dummy like me is more likely to talk to an attractive woman? Or is it, and I realize there's like huge problems saying something like that, right? That is not to undermine the capabilities of the officers. And, there's clearly, to get into any police force, there is a series of, tests and qualifications that you need to meet. But there is a very practical matter where you do actually want to get people to talk, and presumably you're going to use the tricks that to make that happen. And the thing is, I have a sample size of one. I've encountered other police officers who are, of all varying shapes and sizes, also varying levels of helpfulness, frankly. But I'll confess, I've never actually really seen officers who look like that at any other time. So, again, it's not to imply that they have one role, which is to, be attractive people at the door. But there is that side of me that says, like, if you've got, if you need to divide work among a bunch of people, like, do you sort of play to people's strengths and, and have, do you play to sort of the psychological biases that are there? Because I mean, I have seen more so in terms of American shows, but certainly like they don't seem to shy away from being able to use some of the tricks to, in terms of talking with people and trying to get them to, I want to be somewhat generous in terms of the statement, but the police, if you're in their custody and they think you've done something, they're very clearly going to want you to behave in a way that may not be consistent with your interests, let's say. So, that's obviously when you're in custody, but presumably, it's more than just who you're interviewing in an interview room. Like, presumably you're also going to want to get those answers. So if you've got someone that people's going to open a door for, more likely, like, do you use that advantage? I don't know. Like I said, I've got a sample of one. So I hope that doesn't make me sound like a complete, like, sexist or whatever. That is, again, not to undermine the capabilities of the people coming to the door. But there is just still that side of me that says, is like, two officers that look like that? It's like, that's gotta be intentional. Or perhaps that city just has a very attractive police force. I don't know. But this is the funny thing, right? Like, obviously this game has almost caricatures, right? But this is the funny thing. Like, the special investigator that looks hot is actually partly in line with my interactions with the police, I guess. Lana Skye intended to murder Detective Goodman. That's why she called the victim all the way to the prosecutor's office. I'm sure the chief prosecutor had a grudge against the victim. Nothing else could drive that human machine to plunge the knife in again and again. The victim was summoned from the police department to the prosecutor's office. It does sound a lot like premeditation, doesn't it? So if I ordered a pizza, does that mean I'm planning to kill the delivery boy? In any case, the defense may now cross-examine the witness. Lana Skye intended to murder Detective Goodman. You've said that, but you haven't told us how you know. That's what I'm about to tell you, rookie. I believe what she just said was a mere prelude to the story she's about to tell. Try not to interrupt her again. Rookie. Never interrupt a storyteller. It's like pulling a bun out of the oven half-baked. Something's half-baked here, all right, and it's you. Try not to confuse the defense witness. They're not very quick on their feet. Now, why did you believe the suspect had intentions to murder the victim? Her actions speak for themselves. That's why she called the victim all the way to the prosecutor's office. You have no proof that Miss Skye called him there. You have no proof that she didn't. Mr. Edgeworth, thoughts? There's no record of a call made on the defendant, Miss Lana Skye's phone. She might have written him a letter. Come on, you could have tried public phone first at least. In any case, the victim came to the prosecutor's office where he was murdered. Excuse me. I'm sure he had a reason to be there. Witness? Why do you think the suspect, it was the suspect who summoned the victim that day? I'm sure the chief prosecutor had a grudge against the victim. What kind of grudge? Well, I wouldn't know that. Of course you don't! That's because she didn't have a grudge! Rookie. I have a lunchbox here. Now, what's inside? How am I supposed to know? See, we agree there's a lunchbox here, but we don't know what's inside. A person's life is like a lunchbox with pretzels. Don't you agree? I get it. That's why my lunch was so salty. This judge isn't very good with metaphors. The suspect had a grudge against Detective Goodman. Will you tell us your basis for thinking this? It's simple. Nothing else could drive the human machine to plunge the knife in again and again. Oh, hang on. A human machine. That's a contradiction! Please. Can't you find fault with something of substance, Mr. Wright? Note to self, Mr. Edgeworth's sigh smells like citrus fruit. You say again and again. How many times did she stab him exactly? The game is pointing me towards something very clear here. We often say chop into 1,000 pieces, but we don't actually mean 1,000 pieces. What difference does it make if the deed is done? How come she's getting mad at me? Let's just say she stabbed him several times and leave it at that. Leave it at that? This is a murder case, people! Mr. Wright, you should speak up if you have an objection, you know. Miss Stars turned out to be as short-tempered as she looked when we met her. Challenging her abilities as a detective really set her off. Short wick burns out the fastest. It's a scientific fact. I wonder, wouldn't it depend on the size of the candle? I mean, add more wax, and even a really short wick would burn longer. Obviously, more scientific testing is required. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking here. I wasn't thinking about this before, but if we look at the autopsy report, death due to loss of blood, 1 knife wound. So that's... I don't think we need to meditate on that one too much. Ah! You say she stabbed him again and again, but you couldn't have witnessed that. Are you testing me? Then I'll test you. With my moss surprise. I'm afraid the moss is growing under our feet as we wait, Miss Starr. What do you mean? I shouldn't have to explain this, but take a look. The autopsy report states that death was due to the loss of blood from 1 stab wound. Aha! You're right. Good show, Mr. Edgeworth. What a hunk. He's my hero, really. What about my objection? No one noticed? Well, witness. You got the crime scene set, right? How many of these things does she have? Oh, thanks. I always believed that no one could ever mistake ketchup for blood. But now I realize that such mistakes are possible. So, you're saying you mistook something for blood. When she lifted her knife, I thought I saw blood at her breast. Splattered blood from her victim. That's why I thought she must have stabbed him at least twice. Then tell us what you saw that you thought was blood. Testify. Her red muffler looked like blood to me. That's how ghastly the whole scene was. Her red muffler? Yeah, it's like a scarf. The chief prosecutor always wears one around her neck. So she can be easily hanged at a moment's notice, I suppose. She's right. This guy was wearing a red scarf, wasn't she? But wait. Isn't it odd that you mistook that for spattered blood? Well, people often mistake my beard for a bib. A judge with a bib. That's why this place feels so much like kindergarten sometimes. Now, let's just be clear. I'm going to show you the Canadian Supreme Court again. Just so we can be clear, bibs are perfectly acceptable in Canadian court. No beards, though. I'm going to law school now. Actually, I do think I saw some traces of blood on her chest. I too was examining her chest. Sorry. However, the autopsy report is clear on this matter. There was only 1 knife wound. Apparently, Miss Starr isn't entirely sure of her own testimony. Mr. Wright, this is our chance. Chance for what, I wonder? Miss Starr has turned out to be as short-tempered as she looked when we met her. Challenging her abilities as a detective really set her off. Short wick burns out the fastest. It's a scientific fact. I wonder, wouldn't it depend on the size of the candle? I mean, add more wax, and even really short wick will burn longer. Obviously, more scientific testing is required. Oh boy. Okay, so I think we're basically in the same spot we were with the knife. So I guess the first thing I would look for, if she's talking about the red muffler, I don't see it. Maybe it's as easy as pointing out the image again. Yep. Miss Starr, I demand an explanation. The witness is clearly not suited for detective work. What? The suspect was not wearing a scarf or muffler of any kind when she stabbed the victim. And you've proved it yourself. With this photograph. Huh? But that can't be. Only a professional lunch lady would be so utterly careless. Congratulations. Perhaps you've finally found your true calling in life. Harsh words, but good. In the end, Mr. Edgeworth prevails. What was my objection? Chopped liver? But it was there. A scarf. No, not that, but something red. Really? Well now, where were we? The witness has given us an entertaining interlude, but back to business. What? Very well, witness. Continue your testimony. You saw the crime and apprehended the suspect. Tell us about that. Very well. I do remember some things accurately, at least. Ultimately, we couldn't shake the most important part of her testimony. Most important part? The part where your sister stabs the victim. This next testimony might just be the moment of truth. After the murder, the suspect attempted to run behind a partition off to her side. I quickly caught her, explained her rights to her, and arrested her on the spot. Ah yes, when I arrested her, she mentioned the muffler. That's what had me confused in my earlier testimony. The chief prosecutor made to escape, but against Angel Starr, resistance is futile, so this might be where we talk about the partition again. You were quite determined about this scarf, aren't you? I strike like a snake and bite like a cobra. That's me, Angel Starr. That wasn't a very good metaphor. First of all, a cobra is a kind of snake. Don't bother me with details unless you want to get bitten. No thanks. Note to self, Mr. Wright is weak against poisonous snake bites. Chief prosecutor tried to resist, but her efforts were in vain. She knocked my hands aside, kicked over an oil drum. An oil drum? Hard to imagine. Oh, she's beautiful, but deadly. Predator, this one. A leopard woman. Rawr! Very well, Mr. Wright. Give your cross-examination, if you will. After the murder, the suspect attempted to run behind a partition off to her side. So where is this partition on the floor plans? I'm sure she means the wall next to the car. That's right. There was a wall there, about 6 feet high. She was obviously trying to hide herself. Quite a natural thing for a criminal to do. And what did you do then? I quickly caught her, explained her rights to her, and arrested her on the spot. You say quickly. Were you close to the suspect? As I just said, I was only 30 feet away from her the whole time. Maybe I should press her for more details. I'd like to see this on the floor plans, just to be safe. The Lunchland car was... She was a visitor, thus she was parked in B block. So you witnessed the murder from here? That would make it about 30 feet from the car, yes. Is that correct, Miss Starr? Yes, that's right. But there was a chain-link fence in front of you. I went over it, of course. Amazing! A cough-up queen lunch lady athlete indeed. Would have taken her a little time to climb over the fence. So So she couldn't have gotten to my sister that fast. Yeah, that fence was about 9 feet high, too. So how did Miss Sky not get away? Ah, yes. When I arrested her, she mentioned the muffler. She mentioned the muffler? What exactly did she say? If I remember exactly, I would have told you in my testimony. Cheeky. Anyway, all I heard her say was the word muffler. Just that one word? So, what you heard wasn't the suspect talking to you, but to someone else. Yes, the chief prosecutor was talking on her phone. Her phone? She can't mean... By phone, do you mean... this cell phone? Discovered at the crime scene? Yes, ultimately. Ultimately? My memory... It's like a salmon, heading upstream, you see. No, the court doesn't see Miss Starr. Chief prosecutor first attempted to use the phone hanging on the wall. On the wall? That's right. Near the car. There was an emergency phone on the wall. Apparently it was out of order. And so she used her cell phone? Indeed, the emergency phone was out of order that day. Good witnessing, witness. Good witnessing? Whatever happened to good testifying? You should, of course, add this to your testimony. Things I do to please this rookie defense attorney. On a cell phone updated in the court record, the word muffler was overheard during the call made to Emma at 5:18. Saw it all, how she tried the phone on the wall but had to use her cell instead. Do you think you could restate your testimony for the court? Aha! I was going to ask the same thing. I'll only say this one time, so listen close, rookies. The chief prosecutor stabbed the victim and ran behind the partition. Then she picked up the emergency phone on the wall, but it was out of order. Of course, the X-ray vision is what allowed her to see this. So she pulled out her own cell phone out of her pocket. And during that time, you climbed over the chain link fence. Then, when I boldly grabbed her arm, the chief prosecutor hung up her phone. And you saw her doing this. What is it, Mr. Wright? She made to escape. Can you be more specific? She brushed aside my hand and ran. It was a terrible sight to see, like a dollop of lard on a pate of foie gras. Huh? She even kicked over an oil drum at me. An oil drum? There was an oil drum lying on its side at the scene of the crime. But it's strange. What's that? If she wanted to escape, why didn't she run the other way? The parking lot entrance. That's right! Doesn't make any sense that she would run from behind the partition to the oil drums. Excellent. More mysteries. I wish we could solve a few before finding more, though. So Miss Guy tried to run. I'm sorry, my sister's so suspicious, Mr. Wright. Not as sorry as I am. But she didn't do it. You have to believe me. Oh, we already did this. I'll leave her alone on this one just because... Alright, that's the contradiction. Miss Starr, I have to conclude that you have a personal grudge against Miss Lana Sky. The witness is a former detective. Her testimony is unmarred by personal bias. Well, who would have thought you would be my knight in shining armor, prosecutor? You who, together with the chief prosecutor, kicked me out 2 years ago. Well, Miss Starr, this is a fatal contradiction with your testimony. How do you explain this? I don't know what you're talking about. Mess with me, I'll make you cough it all up. Let's look at the floor plans. You said you witnessed the crime from this point. However, if that's true, you couldn't possibly have seen Miss Skye making that phone call. I believe you see what I'm getting at. That emergency phone was on the back side of this partition. If indeed you were in B block, you couldn't have seen it. Order! Order! What is the meaning of this? It's simple, Your Honor. She's not coughing up lunch. She's coughing up lies! Ah! That's quite a claim, Mr. Wright. Perhaps you will allow me a question? Tell us exactly what lie this witness has told the court. Here's where the counterattack begins. I can't afford to get this wrong. The witness lied about... Ooh, this is a... I am inclined to say where she saw it, but I don't know. I'm going to... Yeah. This guy tried to use the emergency phone, but it was out of order. What is significant about this fact? Nothing. Therefore, it would be pointless for Miss Starr to lie about it. Pointless to lie. I see. Say the witness did actually see Miss Skye using the emergency phone. It would mean Miss Starr witnessed the crime from a different location. A different location? Now that's a pointless lie if I've ever heard one. Before you call my lie pointless, at least let me tell it. Let me ask a question of our clever wordsmith, Mr. Wright. Just where was the witness when she saw the crime? All the testimony we've heard until now points in one direction. The place from where Miss Starr witnessed this crime was here. Oh, damn it. I'd say... security room? This is the only place where she could have been. The security guard room. Indeed, the security guard room in the underground parking lot is well positioned. It's built on the second floor, so you can see the entire lot. She would have to be able to see the emergency phone from there. But why there? There are many other places where she could have seen the phone. Not in this case, Your Honor. The witness, not being part of the prosecutor's office, couldn't park in A block. The only place where she could have seen the crime and the back of the partition is here. I remember it in your testimony. You said, you brought a lunch to your boyfriend in the security guard room, yes? Well, Miss Starr? How many years have I been getting the better of men? To think that the tables could be turned. Today a man has gotten the better of Angel Starr. Order! Order! Witness! What have you done? You used to be a detective. You should know better. I'm not turning back. The guilty will be punished. And I'll do what I must to make sure justice prevails. Guilty? Is she talking about Miss Skye? Mr. Wright, doesn't this strike you as odd? Why did Miss Starr lie? It doesn't make sense. Huh? She could have just said she saw the crime from the security guard station. Wouldn't change anything. Exactly. This photograph tells all. It was the defendant who stabbed the victim. The truth still stands. Objection! It still stands? I disagree, Mr. Edgeworth. What? If a witness is found to be lying, they're guilty of perjury. She knows this. She wouldn't risk that without a good reason. So tell us what her reason was, Mr. Wright. Huh? Me? Who else? Mr. Wright, let's review what we know. Miss Starr witnessed the crime from the security guard station. But she lied and said she saw it from B block. It must make a vital difference. But what? What would change? I would say angle of view to the crime. Why, the angle at which she saw the crime occur would change. The angle? What do you mean? Well, the security guard station is on the second floor, and, she would have sort of a more 3D view of the crime. And this is important. Why? Perhaps you'd like to reconsider, Mr. Wright? Mr. Wright, let's review what we know. The Star witnessed the crime from the security guard station, but she lied and said she saw it from B block. Must make a vital difference. But what? What would change? I would have thought that the angle of view... Distance to the crime seems slightly more credible than the lighting. I genuinely don't know what the... I don't know what the lighting would do here, so... I thought angle of view would just be, you can't necessarily see who committed it, but... I also want to know where that photo came from. It changes the distance between her and the scene of the crime. Objection! My condolences, Mr. Wright, but one look at the floor plans and it's quite clear. The distance between the scene of the crime and the guard station is 30 feet. I don't see how that would change what she could see. Objection! What she saw is not in question here. What matters is the time it would take her to reach the scene of the crime. Miss Starr, you witnessed the crime from the security guard station. Now, how long did it take you to go from there to the scene of the crime where you arrested Miss Skye? Well, witness, you... Yes? You ordered the squid wheels, right? Quality of my lunches has gone from low to inedible. I was bringing a PB&J lunch with fresh boysenberry jam to my boyfriend. Boysenberry for the boyfriend. He wasn't in the station, so I waited. I witnessed the crime from the glass-walled station. And before I knew what I was doing, I found myself running towards the scene. But the door was locked. I couldn't open it. That's why I had to go through the visitors' parking in B block. That's quite a detour. It probably took me at least 5 minutes to get to the scene of the crime. 5 minutes? This changes things considerably. But it was that woman over there in the defendant's chair who stabbed him. I know it. I have photographic evidence. I swear it. I swear it on my finest plastic spork. You have a point, and the spork is a wonderful invention. Would you like another caviar lunch? Absolutely. Uh-oh. Mr. Wright, you have to do something. Do you have any evidence to stop this? God, okay, I need to think about it. So the problem is that this does actually... This kind of has a coherence, but I kind of eject by default, so... 5 minutes between the witnessing of the murder and the arrest. Think about it. You can make pasta in that amount of time, if you like it al dente. I've got lunch boxes that tie pasta into knots, rookie. A 5-minute blank. Isn't that strange? Strange? If you were a criminal, what would you do with 5 minutes, Your Honor? Well, I guess I'd flee the scene. Hey! Don't get the wrong idea. I didn't kill anyone. But you have the instincts of a killer. You would run, but this time was different. Miss Skye dawdled at the scene of the crime. She even had her picture taken. No true criminal would act this way. It's inconceivable. Well then, it seems we've come to the end of this testimony. That was abrupt. The witness has a grudge against the defendant and a blank in her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth is the next witness ready to go. Unfortunately, I appear to have overestimated this witness on account of her professional history. We did it! We screwed that can shut, Mr. Wright. That was too close. I'm afraid that the cough-up queen has been dethroned. And with that, court is adjourned. Mr. Edgeworth, you ordered the squid wheels, right? That's the one she tried to foist off on me. I prefer not to take the defense team's leftovers. Anything else to say? I might be able to save you. I have decisive evidence. What was that? Is this another one of her trick lunchboxes? My apologies, but we have no further questions to ask of you, Miss Starr. Ah. Is this your jumbo lunchbox? Woohoo! A triple-decker! Out of deference to the witness's determination, I'll allow one more testimony. Let's hear about this decisive evidence. Like the Lunchland motto says, you won't be disappointed. What's she gonna pull out of her lunchbox this time? I should have mentioned those 5 minutes when I wasn't looking at the crime scene. And now, to the matter of the victim's shoe. Did I not bring this up? 2 types of blood were found on this shoe. One was, of course, the victim's. And the other blood type matched that of the defendant, Miss Lana Skye. This show proves it. It's flawless, decisive evidence. What? There was blood found on that shoe. Try Lunchland for all your lunch and decisive evidence needs. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Why is this the first time I've heard of this evidence? Simple. As I've already said, I don't trust you with evidence, Mr. Edgeworth. That's why I took the liberty of investigating this myself. And you had blood tests performed. Didn't I mention? I have 3 boyfriends in forensics. In any case, Your Honor, I can't accept this as evidence. What? You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. In other words, this shoe is illegal evidence, at least for the time being. Is that right, Mr. Wright? Seems so. Edgeworth sure is celebrating. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. Don't forget, I used to be a detective. As I mentioned previously, this shoe has already been tested by a member of the forensics department. As you can see, it was approved by the police department as of today. Even the general public can produce official evidence, Mr. Edgeworth. Is that right, Mr. Wright? Seems so. Edgeworth is looking pretty sullen. Could at least study some evidence law, really. Prosecution's complaints notwithstanding, it appears that this evidence satisfies the first rule of evidence law. However, it seems you have yet another count against you, witness. Anything to ensure that the guilty are properly judged. Victim's shoe added to the court record. White enamel shoe bears traces of blood from Goodman and Lana Skye. Very well, Mr. Wright. You may cross-examine the witness. I'm actually not sure what I'm trying to contradict here. Should have mentioned those 5 minutes when I wasn't looking at the crime scene. Why did you lie about those 5 minutes? I guess you could say I just wanted people to look at the results. The results. How many times do I have to say this? I saw the chief prosecutor stab the victim before my very own eyes. Compared to that, a 5-minute blank means nothing. And why didn't you just tell the truth? Don't make me laugh. We're dealing with the most untrustworthy of the vile lot known as prosecutors. Falsified evidence, arranged testimony, erasing and manipulating evidence. When you fight monsters, you need to use every trick in the book. This when the suspect is admitting she did it? False testimony is the most despicable crime of all, Miss Starr. Let's just get this over with. And now to the matter of the victim's shoe. Did I not bring this up? And you found this shoe at the scene of the crime. I detained the chief prosecutor and notified the police department. I wanted to make myself useful while I was waiting for the police to arrive. So, like an ill-trained pooch, you snuck off with a shoe. I was afraid someone would erase the chief prosecutor's crime. This shoe was my secret weapon if that should happen. See this fashionable basket I have here? It carries more than lunchboxes, gentlemen. I'm happy for you and your lunchbox bag. Really. In any case, you removed valuable evidence from the scene of a crime. Now tell us what you did next. 2 types of blood were found on this show. One, of course, was the victim's. So you brought it to the forensics department. If you're going to submit something as evidence in court, you need it approved. To do that, evidence must be analyzed by a forensics expert. She got away with her little coup because she used to be a detective. Shoe does appear to have bloodstains on it. Well, the man was stabbed after all. And that blood belonged to the victim, Detective Goodman. As I said, there were 2 types of blood found on the shoe. And the other blood type matched that of the defendant, Miss Lana Skye. So this is the part I don't get, is I don't know how we established that Lana wasn't wounded. You can't say for sure the blood belonged to the defendant with a blood test. You claim to know something about blood tests, rookie? Huh? Well, speak up. Well, blood comes in 4 types, A, B, O, and AB. However, you can't tell from a blood test whether a murder was committed in cold blood. That's just a figure of speech, Mr. Wright. Actually, we can differentiate between millions of types of, with all the blood tests out there. Which means that we can more or less narrow any sample of blood down to just one person. Or so I hear. That's pretty specific. If I had a little more time, I would have gotten the DNA test results. But they said there's very little doubt it could be anyone but Miss Lana Skye's. So the suspect's blood was found on the victim's shoe. That ties her directly to the death of Detective Goodman. I was afraid she was going to say that. The shoe proves it. It's flawless, decisive evidence. Can't let this evidence go through without a fight. You ordered the peppered fish guts, right? Some like it hot, Mr. Wright. Some, like your client, she's in enough hot water to make a whole vat of soup. Mr. Wright, do you or don't you have a problem with this shoe? Problem? It's critical. Is there a problem with the victim's shoe? Yes? I'm not imagining things. I'd say there's one critical problem with this evidence. A clear contradiction. That gleam in your eyes. You're still young, rookie. I'd give you a peppered fish gut now, but you couldn't take the heat, could you? Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What is contradictory about the victim's shoe? Show us the problem with the evidence. Nope. Okay, so none of this highlights, but I would say it's rather unusual for the victim to step... I would guess this is the fact that they presumably stepped in their own blood. I wonder if you noticed. There's blood on the bottom of this shoe. Don't mess with me, rookie. Or it'll be your blood on the bottom of my shoe. Indeed, there is quite a bit of blood on the bottom of this shoe. Makes sense, the victim was stabbed with a knife. What could possibly be contradictory about the blood on the bottom of the sole? I'm trying to decide if it's the knife or the autopsy report that's communicating the, or maybe it's the... Actually, yeah, this is a little easier. So there's no blood on the ground. So yeah, death due to loss of blood doesn't say why it wouldn't land on the shoe. Traces of the victim's blood. I mean, it does raise the question in terms of why there's two sets of blood, but I guess to answer that, I feel safest with the crime photo again. The problem lies in the footprint. The footprint. Note that the bottom of the victim's shoe is covered in blood. Then, isn't it strange? Why weren't there any bloody footprints found by the scene of the crime? Aha! As you can see, there were no traces of any such footprints at the scene of the crime. That contradicts your claim about this shoe. This picture only shows part of the floor, so there could have been bloody footprints. Then where were they, Mr. Edgeworth? Because we checked the scene and found nothing of the sort. Diluted Daybreak, how you doing? Order! 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 Well, witness. What? Huh? Great going, Mr. Wright, but it's true that the lack of a footprint is a contradiction. But then we have to ask why there wasn't a footprint. Oh. That's true. There has to be a reason why there wasn't a footprint. Think, Mr. Wright, think. I don't know why it's not there. I'm just good at finding contradictions. Folks, I mentioned Diluted Daybreak a little bit earlier, but wonderful broadcaster of, I would say, I know best through Brace Yourself games, but also has done some Oblivion, and now Oblivion Remastered, and is working on a Sheogorath cosplay, and is a milady of science. So, many, many talents. I hope you're well. I'm sure you're familiar enough with the series, but we are on to the 5th episode. I'm running a little bit late, so we may not be going too much longer. But I was very amused by the metal detector and the interrogation of the parrot in the 4th episode. And then this one has been amusing too. Although, I'm very interested in seeing how they wind it all up. I really don't know how you get the confessing prosecutor off the hook here. Doing great. Had a tempura for the first time since your diagnosis, and you're feeling very full and happy. Also, your chat broke your tenuous sanity today. I didn't realize that you were streaming today. Diluted. I'm sorry. I would have watched if I if I'd known. What? I see. Now I get it. Get what? Our witness is more devious than I gave her credit for. We were hoodwinked to the very end. But she slipped. There's one vital hint to the truth in her testimony. What are you talking about? Think back to when she told us about apprehending the suspect. The chief prosecutor tried to resist, but her efforts were in vain. She knocked my hands aside, kicked over an oil drum. Oh, she's beautiful, but deadly. A predator, this one. A leopard woman. I thought that it was a strange thing for the normally cool-headed chief to do. No kidding. Now, witness, allow me to ask a very simple question. This oil drum, was it empty? Oh, that. I'm not sure I like your attitude, Mr. Edgeworth. Though apparently you're not the slowest conveyor belt in the lunchbox factory. Witness. Well, was the oil drum empty? The oil drum kicked over by the chief prosecutor was brimming with water. Water? What does that mean? Still don't get it, Mr. Wright? Do you want to know the reason she knocked it over? The real reason? Aha! You don't mean... Yes, the suspect knocked over that oil drum for one reason and one reason alone. To erase the blood stains that would have become evidence against her. That ties things up quite nicely. The blood stains left on the victim's shoes tie her quite clearly to this murder. Then, after the deed was done, she knocked over the oil drum to erase the telltale signs. And that's a prosecutor's specialty, erasing evidence. That reminds me, this guy's right hand was hurt. Didn't she say she'd cut herself when she stabbed him? So that's when my sister's blood got on the shoe? Well, I see no reason to prolong this trial. Mr. Wright, do something, please! What? What can I do? Your sister has confessed to the crime and she tried to conceal it. But... enough. There's no need for further debate. The verdict, Your Honor. Very well. But Angel Starr is on the prosecution's side. She could have been lying about the water. This court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Skye... Little girl, what did you just say? Huh? Me? Did you say that I, Angel Starr, was on the prosecution's side? Well, yeah, you are. You're saying my sister hid evidence by erasing the bloody footprints. Well, I thought you'd had your fill, but here you are demanding a second helping. Another lunchbox. A lunchbox called evidence. Wait, witness, don't tell me you have something else. Objection! The time for deliberations is past. Any further comments, and you will be held in contempt of court. Your threats don't scare the cough-up queen. Look at this. A photograph. I had it just in case anyone had the gall to suggest that the white shoe didn't belong to the victim. I see no room for error in this evidence. Mr. Wright, wait. Look at the asphalt in this photo. Hey, it's clearly wet. Erasing the last trace of doubt from the court's mind. Immediately after the murder, the crime scene was washed with water. I'm sorry, Mr. Wright. I guess I couldn't help after all. It's not your fault. I knew I couldn't win this case from the beginning. And Seems this is what your sister wanted anyway. I'm sorry, Mia. Right. Wet or not, don't be so quick to throw in the towel. Get yourself up off the asphalt. Take another good look. Don't give up. Not until the bitter end. This is the last piece of evidence. Very well. This time I'd like to declare a verdict for good.
Objection!
Your Honor, wait! What is it with you people? Can't I hand down my verdicts in peace anymore? Whatever it is, can it wait? No, it can't! Then it'll be too late! Look at this photograph. This last one submitted. This trial isn't over until we give each piece of evidence proper consideration. So, Wright, are you saying there's a problem with this latest piece of evidence? Yeah, I'll think later. Yeah, there's a problem. Right or wrong, I've got to go ahead with this. I suppose since we've come this far, we should give every claim a fair shake. Very well, Mr. Wright. Show the court the problem with this photograph. I mean, this is interesting.
Take that!
The problem in this photograph is here. What's this? There's something poking out of the car's muffler. Wait just a moment, Mr. Edgeworth. Your Honor, you just said muffler. However, I see no trace of muffler or scarf of any kind in this photograph. A muffler is also a part on a car or motorcycle, Your Honor. Just think of it as part of the exhaust system, a pipe. I see, and I see. What's that suspicious-looking cloth sticking out of the car's muffler? So what if there's something sticking out of the muffler? What does that have to do with this case? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Objection!
Sorry, Miss Starr, but it's not going to be that easy. In fact, you've already told us why this is important to the case. You said as much in your testimony. What? Let's hear what Mr. Wright has on his mind. Tell us why you think this piece of cloth in the muffler is related to this case. The cell phone conversation, right? Yeah.
Take that!
Miss Starr, recall your testimony for the court. Ah, yes. When I arrested her, she mentioned the muffler. That's what had me confused in my earlier testimony. Muffler? Ah! Could it be that the muffler you heard mentioned was actually this exhaust pipe? If so, that means this piece of cloth is vital evidence. Well, it seems we'll have to suspend the proceedings. Suspend? I find myself wondering about that piece of cloth. If we leave any question unanswered here, we do a disservice to the law. Have the car at the crime scene inspected at once, and bring me that cloth. The verdict will wait until after we've seen all the evidence. Agreed? I suppose so. Whew. That was close. But we made it. At least for now. This court will adjourn for a 30-minute recess. It's lunchtime, after all. Still hungry. To be continued. I don't know why I thought I was going to be done this today. All right, so Diluted, I do apologize for... I realize you just arrived here and you've been very encouraging in terms of continuing to do Ace Attorney. However, I need to at least get something resembling a proper bedtime. So just a quick reminder for those of you who were in here earlier, or weren't in here earlier. I will mention that Revived Snow is also a broadcaster. So Diluted Daybreak, if you fancy some excellent Brace Yourself games, and of course Elder Scrolls. And for those of you who would like to see a little more variety, although I think it's fair to call both Diluted Daybreak and Revive Snow variety broadcasters. But Revive Snow's fellow Canadian, camless, voiceless broadcaster, whereas Diluted Daybreak will show you her face charming personality on live on broadcast. Anyways, let's find somebody who is online tonight. Prosciutto Fist is still doing the Lord's work in Clair Obscure Expedition 33, so I think I will leave you in her capable hands tonight. I will mention, for those of you that would enjoy messing with Prosciutto Fist, you could point out the superiority of hot coffee over iced coffee. Also the value of the democratic process. But if you don't want to mess with her, that's fine. I will forgive you. But definitely mentioning hot coffee and its positive qualities will be received kindly by the host of the stream. Anyways, thank you everybody for hanging out. Thank you for whether you were here from the very start or if you've only been here for a little bit. Friday will be more cyberpunk, but I imagine that we will be doing a little more Ace Attorney. We should probably be wrapping it up next week, either on the Monday or the Wednesday at the latest. But I will leave you in Prosciutto Fist's hands, or fists. Have a good night. Happy post-Canada Day for the Canadians. And then I think I should be streaming on Independence Day, so I will save that for the Americans, unless, of course, you're not stopping by, in which case, happy pre-Independence Day. I'm going to shut up now. Enjoy, Pro. See ya.